1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Kick to start the half. Jaden Harrison might get a chance here. Going to bring it out from his own 2-yard line. Cuts it inside, takes it out to the far side, across the numbers, along the far sideline. Jaden Harrison hits the Jets across midfield. 40, 30, 20, 10. It's a touchdown! Yes! Kickoff return from Jaden Harrison. He waited all season long, and golden is thy fame. What a return to start the second half, and Notre Dame leads 19-3.
The Notre Dame Radio Network, it would be 20-3, and that wasn't all she wrote, but it was pretty close because the Notre Dame defense was so stifling.
Ooh, I don't know. It was 20-10, and Georgia had the ball at midfield and was rolling.
Yeah, after they got a stop on a very close fourth down call, but then Georgia's offense couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, so it did feel like it almost became a game, like it was threatening to become a game. Georgia just wasn't good enough to make it a game.
I mean, welcome to the show, by the way, Maggie Gray and Perloff. We just jumped right into it because there's so much to talk about from Notre Dame beating Georgia last night. They move on to the Final Four, the semifinals, and this is the first time that Notre Dame has won a major bowl game in 31 years. Now, that doesn't mean they haven't made the national championship game in that time. They've been to the college football playoff twice, but they have not won a major bowl game in 31 years.
Wait. So I know technically it's a bowl game, but we're not really talking about this like it's a bowl game.
Well, we can talk about that later on. The confetti is falling. They're calling it the All-State Sugar Bowl. I don't know. Feels like a bowl game, but it's a college football playoff game, obviously, and there's more to do for Notre Dame, which is where we start today. And the question is, can Notre Dame win it all? Now, why don't you go first?
The answer is no. I mean, things could not have fallen better for them. They got an Indiana team that shouldn't have been here and a Georgia team with a backup quarterback. And still, I saw a very, very, very good defense yesterday.
Yes.
A lot of pros. I saw a non-functioning offense that there's no way they can beat Ohio State if they play like that.
Okay. Ohio State, as I said yesterday, it's their tournament to lose. Maybe nobody's beating Ohio State.
Well, right. That's why. But you asked, can they win the title? So that's what's looming, theoretically.
Yes. And, again, I'd put Ohio State now, and how could you not? They scored 41 points, then 42 points. They took care of Tennessee. Obviously, what they did against Oregon, it's just been beyond impressive for the Buckeyes, how they've turned this around since that loss to Michigan. But if I'm looking at Notre Dame, don't look at the offensive counting numbers. Don't look at if you look at the box score and you simply went off the box score, you would say this is not a good enough team to win the national title.
Right.
But if you watch the game, sometimes the numbers tell the story, Perloff, and sometimes they don't. Because there is a formula here how Notre Dame can actually win the national title, which is the defense is as good as anybody. You'll admit that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Definitely. Like, defense is as good as anybody.
Yeah, but
Penn State is their best defensive player is injured right now. Abdul Carter. We don't even know what his status is and how effective he could be if he plays at all.
Wait. I'm not going to admit the defense is good anyway. Because what's the best offense they played this year?
They just played Georgia last night.
Right, with a backup quarterback.
Okay, but Georgia still has forgive the pun, dogs everywhere else. They were the preseason number 1 team in the country. You can't just dismiss it. Carson Beck, by the way.
You can dismiss what you saw last night.
Are you 100% sure that if Carson Beck was in there last night, it would have been a different outcome?
Yes.
Nobody can say that who watched
Yes, you would
Georgia
have had
this
2
year.
more turnovers and 2 more touchdowns. Yes, I'm being
It would
dead
have been
serious.
more entertaining, maybe. But.
You would have had a lot going. Yeah, no, I do think not having Carson Beck made a massive difference
Guy's
in this
making
game.
his first start ever in a college football playoff. But I think that Notre Dame does have that elite. And by the way, their rankings nationally would tell you that they do have an elite defense.
But I don't understand. Like, what was the numbers tell the whole story? They had nothing in their deck except for Riley Leonard scrambling.
Yeah,
That's it. It's the only play they had.
Yes.
Only play they had.
And I've seen, now granted, Riley Leonard is not in this person's caliber, but I've seen people like Cam Newton. He's not in Cam's caliber. Yeah, okay. But I've seen scrambling quarterbacks be able to be effective in college football. And I just watched last year a Michigan team that basically did this whole blueprint. Their quarterback didn't throw.
Yeah, but he didn't run every play.
Well, that's because they had some better running backs. I mean, maybe for Riley Leonard, if Jeremiah Love is hopefully not very hurt, the interior of that Georgia defense, for as down as Georgia was this year, the interior of that defense is dynamite. The only way that Notre Dame was able to move the ball was when they got out into the edges, and then they talked about it on the broadcast. But
the interior of that defense got run over by Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech ran for 400 yards against the interior. That defense is actually great on the edge.
But not last night.
I don't know. Yeah, their defense was great on every way. I mean, Notre Dame scored 23 points. One was a return, and one was on a 12-yard field. They didn't have a touchdown drive all game. I mean, Georgia's defense was fine. I just worry, like, can Notre Dame pass the ball at all? Like, that's like everybody. I mean, it's not just Notre Dame. Like, this entire 12-team playoff seems utterly. Every team is flawed. It's weird, except for Ohio State.
Okay, so Ohio State right now. But, there is a part of me that is a tiny bit in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, when is there something lurking with Ohio State? Are they going to revert back at some point? Do I fully trust Chip Kelly, the coaching staff, blah, 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 whatever. So, like, Ryan Day still hasn't, we still have questions about him winning big games, even though they've looked beyond impressive in the last 2 games. And now you have Notre Dame going up against James Franklin.
Yeah, this is a great path.
Okay, so if we think that, and listen, I'm not actually sure that Penn State is beatable. I think the Penn State offense is definitely operates at a higher level right now than what the Notre Dame offense is doing. But defensively, again, Abdul Carter, if he's not there, there is a path here where Notre Dame makes it to the national championship game, and then you're in the national championship game.
And so what?
And Ohio State could get tight. Anything could happen. Your quarterback could get hurt. Something you never know. You never know.
I knew when Manti Te'o and Notre Dame were going against Alabama.
That was a different Alabama team.
So you better bet at Notre Dame then, because you get good odds.
I'm thinking about it. I am, because I see, you're right, teams that look flawed. I see also a path that has worked in the past that can win you a college football title.
Okay, that's a really interesting
defense
point.
Awesome. Quarterback not really, they hit the quarterback being one-dimensional, put it that way.
Well, I mean, you need a Vince Young even Cam Newton didn't really score that much in that national title game. That is not necessarily the rule. Like that, and Riley Leonard is good, but he's more like a 9-yard run, where Vince Young was breaking 60-yard runs.
I get it.
The one thing I think Penn State and Notre Dame, they are just going to get into the trenches and punch each other for 60 minutes. That is going to be a slugfest, physical game. I mean,
totally.
I was surprised that Notre Dame is a little bit favored in that game. I think that's a reflection of James Franklin versus now Marcus Freeman's like the coach.
I know.
It's like the NFL wants out Marcus Freeman. Like, you're right. Notre Dame, give him full credit. Like, that is a tough football team.
855-212-4227. If you want to get in on this conversation, can Notre Dame win a national title? Now, here's the other part where I actually am bullish on Notre Dame right now. Granted, Ohio State looks like the best. I get it. But here's why I'm bullish on Notre Dame right now. They had 10 penalties last night. They still won this game. They were winning in ways and margins that were extremely impressive. Special teams was airtight. Play calling, being able to pick up generally. Well, they actually didn't even really convert on third down that much. I mean, there was, again, you look at the box score. This is going to look like it was a draw. And the fact of the
Not
matter
really.
is,
I mean, it looks like Georgia outgained them until that last drive. They were outgaining them significantly for most of the
Georgia
game.
couldn't run the ball at all. I mean, there was nothing on the ground.
I mean,
there's been nothing on the ground
like,
for Georgia all this year.
But it was like 310 to 180 or something. Like Georgia could move the ball. It was mistakes. I mean, there was at the end of that half and the beginning of the second half. That was just an utter disaster.
Right. So the end of the first half where they kick a field goal and then literally they get a strip sack, fumble, recover. Next play, Notre Dame scores a touchdown, and then first play out of halftime is a kick return for a touchdown, and that made it 20-3. It did become 20-10, but Notre Dame's defense was too good, I think, to give up that kind of lead.
I don't. I think a couple things happened. I think Gunnar Stockton made a lot of plays. Like he was valiant effort, but I don't think he totally had the offense organized like a veteran would.
How could he be?
And
maybe we were expecting too much.
Yeah, and secondly, like give Notre Dame credit for getting all those first downs and milking the clock. I honestly thought Georgia's defense was a little like you should not just spy Riley Leonard. You should have three guys spying. And then what happened? He jumped over these guys. He hurdled guys. But it was so obvious to me that at the end of the second quarter, there was a series where Riley Leonard dropped back and Georgia's sent the house every play. They're like, I'm going to send 8 guys out. Like, do that all game. They should have been more aggressive. I think they're going to look back at the tape and said, wow, we had an opportunity here because Notre Dame's passing game wasn't clicking at all. Not that it usually does, and the run game wasn't clicking at all. Like, they had an opportunity to really force something. Notre Dame made the plays. They did not.
855-212-4227. EJ, can we throw it up on the poll, please? Can Notre Dame win the national title? Yes,
well, that's not
or no.
Is that a poll? Can they win the national title?
Can they? What'd I say? Will they?
Well, I'm just saying, can they? Yes, technically, who could say no to that? Do you think Notre Dame will win the national title? Is a fair poll. Can they? Technically, yes. Of course they can. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Do you think Notre Dame will win the national title?
There you go.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
I mean, Maggie,
it
do you
doesn't
agree?
matter. Whatever we put up on a poll on Maggie and Pearl on X, Perloff's going to put up his own poll on Andrew Perloff on X just to get the results.
Well, who would answer no? Can Notre Dame win the national title? No, they cannot.
Oh, people who think Ohio State and Texas are way better than them.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah,
people hate Notre Dame.
Put up 2 polls. I'll see what the various results are.
So
there's no charge.
Now we're just
it's
polling,
free.
We're just a polling place.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys know the science of polling is very important.
Thankfully, we're in the past for that. Election season is over. We get a little bit of a reprieve.
Oh, I thought you meant that polling is in the past because it clearly doesn't work anymore.
that too. That's a different show.
Yeah.
There's another part of this. So we're asking you, can Notre Dame win the title? Do you think Notre Dame will win the title? However you want to slice and dice that one.
No.
The other question, and we'll get into Georgia, the postmortem on Georgia. We know we're on in Atlanta. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are frustrated by how this entire season went because they needed comeback wins. The losses were frustrating. It just did not feel even close to a dominant Georgia season, obviously.
Oh, God.
Now, they still won the SEC, but they were
a mess this year.
This was just not an awe-inspiring Georgia year, even though they're still going to send a lot of guys to the NFL. And again, they still did win the SEC. Is Notre Dame likable now? Not since the movie Rudy came out have I seen this many people giving 2 thumbs up to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is one of those Duke, New York Yankees, Dallas Cowboys type of franchises where people love them or hate them. I do believe that they elicit a response. That's why it's a big deal when they lose to Northern Illinois and we dunk on them for that or whatever. You know what I mean? They are one of those types of programs where people love them, people love to root against them. I think that's changed a little bit. It's either Marcus Freeman is a guy's profoundly easy to root for. Maybe Brian Kelly's gone. I can't put my finger on why it does feel like Notre Dame felt like you were rooting for the underdog. Maybe because the SEC has kind of been jammed down our throats a little bit as sports fans. Just, the SEC is so dominant. So it kind of turned Notre Dame into a little engine that could, like, what are you talking about?
I think it's regional, though. I mean, obviously Notre Dame's popular in New York. It's popular in Chicago. I don't think the rest of the country is as focused on, and there are Notre Dame fans everywhere, but I do feel like they they're not. They fell off the status. They're not Duke or the Yankees. Like I think they're kind of a mid-level ACC team now. Like they don't play real games. They play a lot of Navy and Army. Like
they play USC though. They started the season Texas A&M.
Again, real games against good programs.
Okay, well,
good programs.
Well,
but
I mean, USC though has a stature.
I just think like there's been like the SEC. You're right. Maybe you could argue SEC's been jammed down our throats, but they have really like dominated the scene for the last 20 years.
The SEC.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, or like especially the last 10 years. And now that NIL is here, the Georgia and Alabama thing is gone, and it opens up the floor for a team like Notre Dame. Like I don't think if you didn't have NIL and transfer portal, you wouldn't be having everything that's going on here, right? It'd still be Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State and Oklahoma or whatever. I don't. But so I don't know. I don't feel like they're dominant enough to be in the Yankee Duke likable, non-likable conversation. I think they've fallen off. I could be totally wrong, but like Duke has Cooper Flagg. Like they have the best. Like who does Notre Dame have?
Well, but when it's about football, it can sometimes be about one guy, but football isn't like basketball where it's just, hey, I want to root against J.J. Redick, or I want to root against Grayson Allen, or Christian Laettner if you want to go back in the day, Bobby Hurley. I feel like with football, you're more like it's a little bit more about the whole team and. As opposed to one player.
But when Notre Dame was like the premier program in the country, even the last time they were like not the 70s, like the 80s, like they had Rocket Ismail,
sure.
And they had they got the top quarterback every year. They had Brady Quinn, and they had Paulus, and they had like not that he was that good, but I'm just saying like they had Jimmy Clausen, like they had big stars.
Yeah.
This team is a different team. I just think they haven't won in so long. I think if this team wins a national title, then everyone's going to be back on it. But I'm not sure they're at that status to be like, is Notre Dame still like the team in college football? And I don't know, maybe if they win this thing, they will be. But you still think like they're a top 1 or 2 program? We'll see. I mean, I feel like ESPN like called down the officials and said, you better get Georgia back in this game last night. I think Georgia's a big brand too. I don't think like Notre Dame is above like a unique brand anymore.
Okay,
but if they win this title, they will be.
Listen, you're right. Georgia is also a huge brand, but Georgia is definitely more regional. That's not a disrespect, but they are more of a regional brand. Notre Dame, I mean, you are coast to coast Notre Dame. And I know I'm not trying to make every story a media story because I know that's our world, but they are the only team that has their own television network.
Yeah, but that deal is like kind of wonky now.
But it makes them stand apart. Like clearly there is a value where even Texas, I guess, had the Longhorn network, but that was even under the umbrella of NBC or ESPN rather. NBC is just invested in Notre Dame.
Right, but
period.
NBC, like, that's not a college football station.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is the one place they're putting their money is they want to make sure they're renewing. The guy who's running athletics at Notre Dame now is a former executive at NBC. I mean,
but NBC's like the old man network. They're like hockey,
Sunday Night Football. Like,
yeah.
The
They're just like
ratings.
That's NBC. Like I just think
the
like
Olympics.
The last time that this was a go around of like the money was up. Everyone's like, God, I got to get in the SEC. I got to get in the SEC. Like that's where the big money was. NBC is sort of like I'm going to stay in my lane with. I know they got rid of hockey, but generally, like they like certain things. Like but regardless, it doesn't matter. I'm just thinking like I think there's been a shift towards where Alabama and Georgia become these big national brands. I mean, Georgia's not a region. There's nothing regional. They're like an NFL team. But now that NIL's here, that's all gone. Like it fell apart faster than I could have ever expected.
By the way, when I say regional, I by no means mean small potatoes. Okay, I'm not saying that's this little North, South, East, West university. No, it's Georgia. I get it. But to me, Notre Dame has, because I think of the religious affiliation, has always had just a broader,
definitely
broader fan base than Georgia or think how many championships Alabama had to win to become the national brand, and you have to have the history with Bear Bryant and all that stuff.
Alabama's always been big.
You know what I mean?
Like, Alabama and like Notre Dame is iconic. Probably the most. I'd say Alabama, Notre Dame, and USC are the three most iconic. I would say Michigan. I guess. I don't know. I mean,
definitely. They're one of the winningest programs in the history of college football. Their history goes back over 100 years.
Yeah, but Alabama with Bear Bryant and all that, like, had a lot more titles, I think, than Michigan. How many titles does Michigan have?
I think they are tied for the most ever.
Oh, and then
Yeah,
Alabama.
but you got to go back to like the 30s and stuff. But again, we're veering away from the topic. How this started is asking the question: is Notre Dame likable now? You know, and you know when the movie Rudy came out, I don't want to underestimate how big that was in the 90s. That film was just gangbusters. But again, people like to root against Notre Dame. I found that now they seem almost like a very likable upstart. They felt like an underdog last night to Georgia, and they took it to them.
Did they feel like an underdog? Like I was
They
confused.
were 1.5 point, I think it closed.
Yeah, so I didn't feel like they felt like a Rudy team.
No.
Yeah, it's really
Well, that
interesting.
Rudy team at Joe Montana.
Also,
you know?
too, and we'll get in a later show, like, does something feel funny about the format of this 12-team playoff? Like, it doesn't feel, are we crowning the real national champion, or is it like the NCAA tournament where anybody can win depending on the matchups? It does feel like, because I said in the breakfast show, I'm like, I can't believe Penn State and Notre Dame are playing at this level, like, because I haven't really seen them play the perfect game. I don't know. It's weird. Like, Penn State's in here. Like, what are they? I have no idea who they are. I have no idea what's going to happen to Notre Dame and Penn State. I don't have the slightest idea which teams show up.
855-212-4227. All right, so we've got two things on the table for you. Number one, can Notre Dame win the national title? And two, is Notre Dame now likable? 855-212-4227. If you're someone who roots for Notre Dame, do you notice the bandwagon getting a little full? And if you're somebody who rooted against Notre Dame, do you find yourself kind of pulling for the Irish now? Good morning to our Infinity Sports Network affiliates. We're obsessed with you. We think about you all the time. It's a deep bond. Sirius XM channel 158. You can watch the show. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, and on X at Maggie Gray.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff show. Maggie, I was doing some math in the break.
Oh, boy.
Simple math, and I probably screwed it up anyway. The 4-team playoff lasted 10 years, 2014 through 2023. Guess how many times Georgia or Alabama were in the final game?
Oh, gosh. Besides them and Clemson, it was probably most of the time.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And now that we have NIL and the portal, I feel like that ain't happening anymore. Like, the sport has... We knew everything was going to change, but all of a sudden, Alabama obviously lost Nick Saban, but they've taken a step back. And Georgia, I think maybe they're headed down. There's a lot of reports that Georgia and Alabama don't have money like these other schools for whatever reason. Because you think about it, like, you know, the teams at like a school like SMU, like there's a lot of money in Dallas, Texas. Like all of a sudden, everybody can compete with those teams. And I saw last night a Georgia team that is. I don't think their trajectory is up from here.
Yeah, but I'd be careful about that because
really, that's so funny. I feel very confident in this take.
Well, I mean, let's wait and see because first of all, Gunnar Stockton in his first ever start to be thrown in to the college football playoff quarterfinals, tough assignment. Right? Couldn't really get the team organized at the line of scrimmage as well as probably Carson Beck could have. But he looks like he's the guy for next year. I mean, the dude's got talent. He definitely has ability.
Oh, yeah.
So you got your quarterback set. I guess I'm just not ever going to be too worried about a Georgia defense until I have reason to be. While Kirby Smart is coaching this team, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that this defense is going to be stout. And listen, it's not like Notre Dame was airing the ball out. I mean, this was a... They got a good defensive play that set them up at the 13-yard line, and they got a kick return for a touchdown. That was the difference in the game.
I don't know. I mean,
as far as scoring.
Yeah, they've had moments, but then again, remember that I mentioned earlier the Georgia Tech game. That was a disaster. The Alabama game early in the season, that was a disaster. There was just I don't know if that defense is as consistent as it once was because they used to have, as everyone's pointed out, used to go 4 deep with NFL players at every position. That ain't happening anymore.
This was an air quotes down year for Georgia. They won the SEC.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not,
But I do you think like Georgia, and let's group Alabama in there. Like, do you see Georgia and Alabama being like the 1-2 moving forward? I feel like it's going to be like NCAA basketball, where you're going to see a lot more rotation now.
855-212-4227. I want to just wait and see here. Kirby Smart did call this the most challenging season of his career, I think he said. Now, maybe you're just in the moment. You just lost badly to Notre Dame. But
I mean, it's 2 years in a row you haven't made the title game.
Are we sounding the alarms?
Yes,
you're right there.
I'm 100% sounding the alarm on them. They do not look like the team with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean and countless other guys. Like, I just don't. I think it's going to be hard to do what they did because they were so good. Remember the year they beat TCU? That was like an NFL team lining up against a college team. I just don't see that ever happening again. Maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment here, but the sport parity is here in college football.
We are asking you a couple poll questions off the game last night. Notre Dame beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Well, number one, can Notre Dame win the national title? And secondly, a little more broad, is Notre Dame likable now? Like, by everybody? They used to be very polarizing. Mel is in Dallas, has a thought on this. Good morning, Mel.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, Notre Dame is likable. They're not iconic. They are iconic in a certain way, but every college team is iconic. I mean, Bama's iconic, Georgia's iconic. When you win, you become iconic. And let me give you an example of that. You know, I live 15 minutes away from SMU. SMU was my team. I'm from Dallas. I'm from Oak Cliff. They killed my team for 10 years, and that did a detrimental effect to SMU's program. So when you start throwing all this money around, there's not going to be any superior Bama or anybody anymore, because I guarantee you, when SMU's money ball gets to rolling, hey, you're going to see a different Dallas team. You're going to see a different SMU. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Tigers and LSU, they're iconic.
Right.
Miami, they're iconic. They're all iconic in college. But when you put this money in here, you're going to take it to an NFL level, and they're not going to be any more of those teams anymore, because you're going to be able to money whip this thing like crazy.
Yeah, Mel.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Mel. But you know what? As far as the money is concerned, Mel's got a great point. But as far as the money is concerned, I've seen a team that's got more money than any of us could ever dream of.
Who's that?
Texas A&M.
Yeah, I know.
And what's going on with the Aggies? I don't see all these national championships that are hanging up over there.
I don't know. I mean, he's right. Like, SMU flooded in money, and boom, they hit immediately, and they are coming with Rhett Lashley. Oh, my God, that team is coming. And by the way, I think Duke paying for that quarterback, Duke's going to be in the picture. North Carolina is going to be in the picture. Oregon is going to spend like crazy. Ohio State's going to spend like crazy. There is so much. Now, I think he's
already spending like crazy.
I think the money, it's going to become a very, very different ballgame. Like, who's going to spend which programs? And I don't think it's obvious. I think it's going to be new programs are going to emerge. Obviously, just look at this year's playoff. We had Indiana, for God's sake, in the playoff.
Yeah, but you know what? That wasn't so much of a money thing.
That was a transfer.
That was
they got
a
good
coaching
coach.
thing and a transfer portal thing. Kevin is in San Antonio, our pal. Are we sleeping on a certain team in the state of Texas when we're talking about who's winning the national title? Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing? Happy New Year. And this is really crazy. I'll piggyback on that first caller because it's dealing with the money. Now, what I'm saying is this. I love Texas. Don't get me wrong. I love Notre Dame. Get me wrong. Notre Dame is like the Rockies. People just hate them and all that. It's something about Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They ain't win it. They ain't won the championship a long time.
Yeah, I think it's like I think there's a perceived arrogance about Notre Dame that not only, and Kevin, thank you for the call. Happy New Year, pal. Thank you. Kevin still sends us pictures of his breakfast every day to Maggie and Perloff at gmail.com. It's great. It's delicious. There's something about the arrogance of not only will we beat you at football, or we'll be very good at football, but you have to be a certain standard to play here, right? We're not accepting everybody. You can't have a 4 on your SATs and get into Notre Dame, right? Like we are an academic, institution as well. And I think Duke has a little bit of that too, but let's be fair. Texas is an amazing school. Michigan's an amazing school. These are hard schools to get into. So I think I don't know. I think that's where a little of the hatred comes from. It's people think Notre Dame's arrogant.
Definitely. Definitely the gold helmet. By the way, Indiana spent $13 million last year.
That's not much.
That's a lot. It's a ton. They rank 11th. I'm just saying, like, money is going to flow in weird places in NIL.
Okay, but Ohio State spent $20 million.
20, right? That's number one.
$7 million more.
Right. No. 13's huge for NIL. Like, that's a big payroll
but
for a
you're
college
saying that
team.
all this other money is going to flood in. Do you think Indiana's going to keep up?
Yes,
Because
I think it's going to be random. Yes, I do think Indiana. Again, Duke is all of a sudden, like, when has Duke football been a thing? They're going to be a thing. North Carolina is paying for Bill Belichick. When has that ever happened? It's coming. It is going to be bizarre. Mel was exactly right. SMU is they're going to have a $25 million payroll probably in the future. And like that money is everything in this sport. Everything.
Yes. I believe when I called North Carolina a sleeping giant, I was laughed out of the room.
I think I'm the one who threw that question at Staples.
Well, but it was the idea that they are that all it takes is a little bit of money to infuse into North Carolina. And I just want to say we'll see.
Well, the thing about the Sleepy Giant thing with North Carolina is the SEC desperately wants them because they're they're just a premier. Everything about that school is like lucrative. Like they're just a huge school in North Carolina. They have great academics. They have a great brand. They have a great logo. They've just never delivered in football. They've always had really good players and they had Mac Brown, but they've never been able to get over that hump. They had a lot of violations, ironically. So I do think like they do feel like a sleeping giant, but Staples laughed at us, Mr. SEC.
I thought you laughed at it too. I thought you were not a believer.
I said to Andy Staples, I'm like, is Notre Dame?
Yes, but what did you think about it?
I just think North Carolina is always going to have more first round picks and more violations than actual wins. They had Mitch Trubisky and Drake May and Robert Quinn. Like they've had great players. What's that? Sam Howell, like they've had great players come through there, but they've never been able to coalesce. They are like a sleepy giant, but I don't think this Belichick thing. If I'm a great quarterback, I'm avoiding Belichick. That's where you and I disagree. Like I don't want Josh McDaniels running my offense. I want to go to Lincoln Riley and get a Heisman and do all the flashy air raid stuff. That says a lot about me.
It's working out great for Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, but as players, are like, if you're a quarterback, would you want to go play for Bill Belichick or Lincoln Riley?
Put that up.
I mean, would you like, for example, like Quinn Ewers is reportedly going possibly in the transfer portal. Like, if he does a run to USC, he's crazy.
Let's go to Bogusch. He's got headlines. You can answer that question. Would you rather pay for Bill Belichick or Lincoln Riley as a quarterback? Hey, Bogusch.
Guys, good morning. Your headlines are sponsored by PXG for high-quality, high-performance golf clubs, apparel that delivers style and comfort, premium golf balls, award-winning gloves, and more. Make it a PXG holiday for the golfer in your life. Find the PXG store near you at pxg.com.
Well, I was a cute cart girl at a golf course in high school.
Enough of that. The Sugar Bowl was a 3-3 game until it wasn't.
Kick to start the half. Jaden Harrison might get a chance here. Going to bring it out from his own 2-yard line. Cuts it inside, takes it out to the far side, across the numbers, along the far sideline. Jaden Harrison hits the Jets across midfield. 40, 30, 20, 10. It's a touchdown! Yes! Kickoff return from Jaden Harrison. He waited all season long, and golden is thy fame!
As heard on the Notre Dame radio network, the Irish went field goal, strip sack, touchdown to close the first half, then the return TD to open the second. That was 17 points in 54 seconds of action. They led Georgia 23. They won the quarterfinal this week, 23-10. The Bulldogs did outgain the Irish 296 to 244, but only 62 rushing yards. They went 2 for 15 on 3rd and 4th downs, and Kirby Smart's team also lost a fumble.
Don't beat yourself, and they did that. They did those exact things. Right? They got 2 turnovers, and we didn't, and they returned kickoff for a touchdown. So we basically spotted them, probably 14 points off of that.
Cool post-game echo chamber. Replacement QB Gunnar Stockton threw for 234 and a score. Notre Dame QB Riley Leonard accounting for 170 scrimmage yards with a passing TD. His team now joins Penn State in the Orange Bowl next Thursday night in a semifinal. They are 2 wins away from their first national title since 1988. Your college football nightcap was the Gator Bowl. Ole Miss, a 52-20 drubbing of Duke in Jacksonville. Rebs QB Jackson Dart, 404 yards, 4 scores in his final college game. Alabama QB Jalen Milroe, linebacker Jahad Campbell officially declaring for the draft yesterday. LeBron scored 38 in the Lakers' 114-106 home win over the Blazers, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander posted 29, 8 assists in the Thunder's 116-98 decision over the Clippers. OKC's on a franchise record 13-game winning streak.
Wow, so LeBron now, can he score his age? That's an interesting...
In a game?
Yeah. Has he gotten to the 40 mark? I know he just turned 40. You said that headline the other day.
Yeah, like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Him and Tiger have the same birthday. That always blows my mind.
That's pretty good. He scored 38 points at 40 years old. He's not bad.
I want my damn respect, too.
A LeBron guy, pretty good.
Yeah.
Still.
Well,
Can't find that kind of
I gotta
analysis
be honest,
anywhere
like, old
else.
LeBron is like surprisingly good to me.
You finally appreciate him.
But he's 40.
For now.
Well, I appreciate
Monday will
that
be
he's
different.
scoring. Like, I don't think he's winning. You know.
Did Kareem ever score his age? I feel like Kareem played till 40, right? He might have been able to score 40.
I can't imagine like old Kareem was scoring 40 in a game. Like he was.
I can't think of another person, though, who was still scoring that late in their career. Like Vince Carter was.
Jamal Crawford was. Yeah. No, Vince Carter stopped scoring altogether. He became a defensive specialist.
Yeah, right.
College hoops last night, Oregon basketball, like Oregon football, the 9th-ranked Ducks taking a 109-77 beating in Eugene from number 20 Illinois. And finally, get me to overtime in Denver.
What a play by Devon Taves. Gets the loose puck. Breakaway for Taves. Here he comes. Yeah! Devon Taves completes the comeback for the second time this season. Colorado, like Lazarus, has come back from the dead against the Buffalo Sabres. And you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, because this party is over!
On a Thursday night in January, Connor McGahey has radio. Colorado downing Buffalo 6-5 after trailing 3-0 and 5-3. Thank you, Lazarus. Guys, back to you.
It's like Abel, stab Cain. Just only biblical references.
Out of the belly of a whale.
Sounded like me after a Nick win against the Jazz.
Man, just I wish I knew more biblical references. I could continue this joke, but I'm tapped out.
Is that, by the way, and I feel so dumb.
Oh, no, Cain killed Abel.
I thought Cain stabbed
and
Abel.
I got that one wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say, Abel stabbed Cain? What?
In my alternate universe, Abel had it coming. I think
Cain, brother of the Undertaker?
I think because I'm the younger sibling, maybe that's my retelling.
Your dreams.
Right? Isn't the older one killed? Was Cain older?
Cain was definitely younger.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I only know this because in the WWE, Cain is younger than the Undertaker. I'm just assuming they took that.
Didn't you also go to Catholic school?
Yes.
You're going with WWE making a biblical reference?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they take a lot of stuff. Everyone
Instead
does.
of what he learned in theology.
Yeah, what a
WWE.
mark.
Bogusch, you never heard the term everything is wrestling? This is how I live my life.
Yeah, no, that's disappointing to hear.
Where do you think wrestling's coming up with all these storylines? They're stealing from both the Old and the New Testament.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that, guys.
They're not stealing from the New Testament. They like the Old Testament better.
As the Torah foretold, Hulk Hogan is the Intercontinental Champ.
There's nothing to steal out of the New Testament from wrestling. Yeah, that's all peace and love, like the old, like fire and
We need the
brimstone
wrath,
stuff.
yeah.
Yes.
The fear of God, right?
Like when, the flood slowly raised and only one person survived in the ring. That's Noah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say the most famous wrestling like GIF or whatever social media is what? The Undertaker.
The Undertaker, yeah. Oh, you're right.
Sitting up.
You're right.
Literally in a coffin. Can I get it a little more on the nose for you?
Well, if we're being
I don't know if the
historical.
Undertaker and
No, you know what I'm
Jesus
saying.
Christ are the same.
Jesus wasn't buried in a black suit and a top hat.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he wore eyeliner. I get it. I just think that, it's borrowing.
Easter Sunday wasn't that dramatic. You different drama.
Just keep in mind, listeners, Maggie said, like when Abel stabbed Cain.
I'm sorry. I went off the cuff and I shouldn't have.
But you could definitely take tag teams and put them on Noah's Ark. And since it was two animals, we have tag team wrestling.
Giraffe
and
versus
save them.
elephant.
When Roddy Piper came down from the mountain with 2 tablets on his arms.
The 10 Commandments of wrestling.
That's like, by the way, like wrestling needs ideas. This is great. EJ, like,
You're welcome.
Might as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wrestling reflects society. I'm down with EJ. Like, that's a good place to learn about what's going on.
Well, I was watching the Vince McMahon doc. It's how do we? This wrestling was basically how did we feel about our foreign adversaries?
Yeah.
This is who you could tell was the villain
100%.
of wrestling.
100%.
Yeah.
Like basically, like international politics played out in the ring. The Iron Sheik went down.
Iron Sheik versus Hulk Hogan. How'd you think everything was going to end? They told you right there. 855-212-4227. I have waded into waters that I am out of my depth. Okay. Back to sports. Coming up, is someone coaching their last game with the Dallas Cowboys? We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Yeah, that is the last time I tried to do any retelling of any Bible story. I couldn't even get Cain and Abel right. Welcome to the show. Sorry. I don't know why. I thought that Abel killed Cain. My bad.
No, you didn't.
He
just came out. Yeah.
Now we know where Maggie's going.
Yeah, up or down.
But I think if anyone in pro wrestling was
Manny.
listening, they're going to pick up the Old Testament today and be like, ooh, there's some good stories in here.
Yes, you're welcome,
Yeah.
wrestling. You can now go off Old Testament stories.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we got onto that. Anyway.
Yeah. Tag team of Job and Lot coming your way.
Was in the Old Testament?
It was because the live call for hockey overtime said they rose like Lazarus from the dead. And we thought, what if they did only biblical calls? Anyway, that's the last time I'm ever going to bring that up. Let's get to the Cowboy Quickie. All right, well, merciful ending to the season coming for the Cowboys on Sunday, Perloff. It's just been pretty much a disaster all the way around, from expectations being high and unmet to then injuries setting in, injuries to begin the season with defensive guys like Micah Parsons, injuries in the later part of the season with Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb is now on IR. Basically pretty bad. Now they host the Commanders. The Commanders actually do have something to play for. So Washington is going to want to win this game to avoid the 7 seed if they can. Probably rather be the 6 seed and have to go to LA to play the Rams than be the 7 seed and have to go to Philadelphia and play your Eagles.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's on their mind. So
Sure.
Washington is a 6-point favorite in this game, but the real question is about Mike McCarthy's future. Actually looked like they had found a little life. Even with Cooper Rush, guys were still playing hard. But now the last game, really, blah.
Yeah.
That loss to Philadelphia was ugly.
That was ugly, yes, and we'll see what happens this weekend. I did my Athlon piece this week on the Cowboys schedule next year.
Ooh.
Have you seen this thing?
No.
So they've had a top 10 easiest schedule 4 years in a row.
Really? Because they've won the division a couple times, and I'm surprised that they would have the easiest schedule. But go ahead.
Well, because the year that everybody was good in the NFC East, they played the AFC South. Next year, they have the NFC North, which is now like the dominant conference. They have all 4 teams. Then they have the 4 AFC West teams. Ooh. So you got Harbaugh, Peyton, Patrick Mahomes, Vikings, who I think might be good again, Packers with Jordan Love. So
Lions?
They've had nothing but easy schedules because their division is bad. And the Lions, I think it all comes apart next year. And they've already said Trayvon Diggs is out for the beginning of this year. DeMario and Overshawn is out for the beginning of next year. And you keep saying Dak Prescott, his injury was so serious. Is he ever going to be the same player? And they have all their cap. It looks bleak. So honestly, this is the time, in my opinion, to reset. Boom, rebuild. Just stop everything you're doing. Don't try and string out another win here. Don't rehire Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry, I think McCarthy is a good coach, but I would just start over with a program builder like a Jim Harbaugh. I know you can't get Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, right.
But just you know what? We're not going to continue like this. There's nothing, there's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. There's nothing. What are you looking forward to? They're not going to win the Super Bowl next year.
I think you're too far into this thing to all of a sudden blow it up. You have money committed to Dak Prescott, money committed to CeeDee Lamb. Micah Parsons needs a contract. You gave lots of money to Trayvon Diggs. You gave money to someone else is big money also. Whatever.
Yeah.
So you already have core players that you envision as being part of their core who are locked up into big money deals. I'm sorry. You're in too deep. You can't pull the ripcord on this one. You got to keep going, burrowing further and further down because Parsons is getting paid this offseason.
He's definitely getting paid. But really, you only have 3 huge, massive contracts. It's CeeDee Lamb, Dak, and Parsons. You're right. Trayvon Diggs did get a lot of money.
$100 million.
But I think Lawrence's contracts come off the book, DeMarcus Lawrence, and I assume Zach Martin's going to retire. You're kind of young in other places, like your offensive line. I'm not so sure. You're totally right. You are stuck with these big contracts, but reality's going to hit you in the face here, Maggie. Like, I know you have these guys under contract, but like, you don't have enough to win a Super Bowl. Like, you do not have the players.
Well, maybe they think they're a coach away, and I'm actually going to disagree with you, and I guess this could become a show bet, even though I've already lost a Dallas-related show bet that I have to pay off going to the Waffle House and eating waffles for 24 hours. I think McCarthy's coming back.
No.
Although I'm seeing reports now about Chicago maybe being interested in McCarthy.
I didn't say McCarthy wasn't coming back. I said that he shouldn't come back.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. No. I was saying, like, they should act like they haven't acted in years and hit the reset button. They won't.
Coming up, was someone scapegoated in last night's Notre Dame Georgia game?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Claps for the ball and looks to throw. Pressure behind, ball comes out. It's loose behind the play. Junior Tuihalamaka has the football. Notre Dame takes over inside the red zone. R.J. Oben blows it up, and the Irish are in business.
Notre Dame Radio Network set up a touchdown right before the end of the first half, and then Notre Dame would come out of the second half and have a kick return for a touchdown. It was a great win by the Irish last night to beat Georgia. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and we're asking a couple questions about Notre Dame today. Number one is, can they win the national title?
Nope.
So this is the high point of the season.
No, they'll probably beat Penn State, but I mean, you and I could coach the team and beat James Franklin in the Final Four.
You know, I'm wondering if James Franklin, obviously this is his moment, and I've never been a believer before, and this is still a Notre Dame conversation, but just for quickly on Penn State, they've beaten their opponents as good as you can beat them, right? I mean, it's not their fault they got this lucky draw.
So Indiana beat their opponents this year as good as they could beat them, then they didn't do anything in the playoff.
No, but since we got to the playoff, what has Penn State done? They've won 2 games. They've won these games convincingly. I think these games are considered big games.
I don't. I think, in fact, we could do a poll on that. Like, has James Franklin proven that he can win the big game? Yeah. He beat SMU and Boise.
You're making me uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, I'm sorry, that's
beat
not...
them convincingly.
Beat Ohio State. Beat Texas. Beat Notre Dame.
Well, we're going to see. That's going to be one of the national semifinals, and it's going to be a lot of fun down in the Orange Bowl. We're also asking you another question. Is Notre Dame likable now? Because Notre Dame has been one of those polarizing programs. You either love them or you love to root against them, and now with Marcus Freeman and maybe the fact that we're going up against an SEC juggernaut and the winner of the SEC this year in Georgia, kind of felt like more people were rooting for Notre Dame than we usually see.
Yeah. It's funny. This is a very different Notre Dame program than like the Lou Holtz program, or even before that, the one that was in Rudy with, I think Dan Devine was the coach. Like that was the powerhouse that, they were Georgia basically for a long time. And now they're the sort of, they got like a bit of an ACC vibe to me. Like they play Navy, they play Army. Like they feel like the little guy that could in some ways, even though they are obviously the most iconic program, the gold helmet and everything. They definitely felt like the underdog as far as programs go. That being said, that wasn't like a real Georgia team. So I'm not sure that had to, if they had played Georgia 2 years ago, Like this Georgia team, was that a powerhouse like we saw last night? I think everybody was down on Georgia.
This Georgia team was just flawed. There was something about this team, and we can go through exactly what it was. I mean, something about this team, though, that never felt right all year, whether it was Carson Beck and his problem with turning the ball over, that to his credit, he did clean up like around midway through the season. You had ATN, who was hurt for a lot of the year, was suspended, then he was hurt. It never felt like the run game was really going, even though Kirby Smart would always say he's the best player on our offense. You didn't have your Brock Bowers like you usually. I didn't have your Lad McConkey, so you had guys dropping passes. That happened last night as well. They said on the broadcast that, no team dropped more passes than Georgia all season long.
That is the weirdest thing. Like, their receivers have fallen off tremendously.
And then you were able to run on them a little bit on the edges, especially last night. It felt like when Notre Dame really needed to get a first down, they were able to. And they played a very straight-up game. Notre Dame got the kick return for a touchdown, as we said, but they weren't doing trick plays. I guess the one special teams where they substituted 11 guys for 11 and they got Georgia to jump off sides. But beyond that, I thought they played them pretty straight up.
I kind of disagree with that. Like, I feel like they used a strategy like all we're going to do is run our quarterback, and that throws teams off. Like, look what happened. That was how Vanderbilt beat Alabama, right? Like, a lesser team can beat a better team with a running quarterback.
Yeah, like a Haynes King. You love to bring up how
Georgia
Georgia Tech
Haynes
went
King
to 8 overtime.
Like, if you didn't have Riley Leonard running last night, they wouldn't have done anything, and they really didn't do anything offensively all game.
Well,
they had
that's a credit to the coaching staff because they realized where
it feels like a trick to me.
What?
Having a quarterback run game. It feels like.
But they've been doing that all year, right? Leonard, that's who he is. He was that guy at Duke too.
Yeah, but the question is, okay, they're coming up against Penn State, who's a step up. Well, not really a step up for Georgia, but like I was wondering, like, why isn't Georgia spying? Like, why is it everybody focused on Riley Leonard? There's nothing else. They have no pass game. The running backs are having a bit of an off night. Obviously Riley Leonard's going to run here, so they kept on getting 7-yard runs on first down. Maybe if they had focused on him, he would have had more of a passing game. But it felt like, oh God, we got them. We have honed it down to where they only have one option against us, and that's their quarterback run. But the truth is, like, they didn't really get any offense going until the end. The special teams killed them, and that the play we started the show with right here, that fumble, like, you got to be careful at the end of a half. Like, that is one, as Tom Brady always said, that's where you win and lose games, at the very end of the half and the beginning of the third quarter. Like, and the funny thing is, I had a feeling, I'm like, Georgia's probably going to get aggressive here, and they're going to screw this up because they have an unproven quarterback, and he did not feel the pressure. That was a terrible, terrible mistake. I think that play did more than anything to decide the game, the fumble at the end of the second quarter.
It definitely put some pressure on Georgia for sure. And I think it was actually the kick return for the touchdown to start the second half because you thought, all right, it's still Georgia, right? What are they going to come out? What are they going to do? How are they going to be? They've had all these comeback wins all year long. They've been living on comeback wins. Is this just going to be another example of it? And then you start off the second half with Notre Dame having a kick return for a touchdown. It's like, I don't know if this comeback's happening. Now, to be fair to them, they made it 20-10.
Well, they made it 20-10 easily. Like, that was the easiest touchdown drive I've ever seen. I'm like, where has that been? And then they got the ball at midfield because Notre Dame missed their fourth down. Then they got down into the red zone, and this game was actually all about the fourth downs, and Georgia screwed up 2 of them in a big way and lost. They could have made it 20-17 there, and then we have a full game. Credit
and that was like midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, then Notre Dame at the end, because of Riley Leonard running, was able to stranglehold the clock. It was a strange game. It obviously was not fireworks offensively. You and I said that coming in, that we knew it was going to be a bit of a battle.
And I think the next round's going to be the same way.
I totally agree. Penn State and Notre Dame are both really, really good defensive players. Penn State, the job that Penn State did on Ashton Genty, expect them to apply that kind of pressure to Riley Leonard next week. Whether or not Abdul Carter's not there. So they're going to force Notre Dame to do something they don't want to do, which is open up their passing game. Can they do it? And then the same thing, like Notre Dame's defense should have a heyday against Penn State. I know Drew Aller is like the hot guy right now. I think he's going to run into a wall against Notre Dame.
I think it's more about the Penn State running backs who have been really good. But we asked a question at Maggie and Pearl on Twitter, X, whatever. Is Notre Dame football now likable? 59% of you are saying yes. Big switch. Kevin is in Oregon, has a thought on it. Kevin, Notre Dame now likable to you?
Well, no, they never have been ever since they had Lou Holtz as their head coach. There's something so disturbing about him that they can't rub it off no matter what they do. I like the guy they've got now, but I can't like the team.
You know, Kevin, it's fair. Lou Holtz still out there sparring with Ryan Day. Remember that? And Ryan Day, was that last season? He's like, tell Lou Holtz.
I believe that was last season,
Yeah.
yes. But we need an Ohio State Notre Dame championship so we could just get that beef back going.
Isn't Lou Holtz like in a rocking chair in Florida somewhere?
I think he's heavily involved in the election.
In politics, I know. But I'm striking. Shouldn't he be in a rocking chair in Florida somewhere?
He will leave that rocking chair and find a microphone to talk smack to Ryan Day if Notre Dame beats him in a national championship game.
He's 87.
God bless.
Lou Holtz is the funniest coach of all time. A, the voice. B, like the things that he would say about the bad opponents was just so comical. Oh my God. He's like, well, I can't do his voice, but Mercer's passing attack, watch out for them. And it'd be like 63-3 at halftime. He was one of the funniest coaches of all time.
Don't you guys notice something here? Perloff will attempt any impression under the sun. But now with Lou Holtz, we can't get a little more. He's got a little more like Donald Duck in there.
Yeah. Dan Patrick does it so good. Like that's his number one go-to.
Oh,
is
really?
Lou Holtz. Oh yeah. We put their pants on the same way they do or something. What's his famous line? They put their, what is it line? Give me the line. They put their pants on the same way we do. Dan walks around the studio saying, because remember when back in the 90s, like Lou Holtz was the guy. Like he was probably the biggest face of college football, and he would just say the wildest things in his press conferences.
Yeah, I mean, no, this is perfect for when Dan's doing SportsCenter back at those late nights.
Yeah. We put the. I'll get the line. Actually, I'm gonna find a clip of Dan doing Lou Holtz. You guys will crack up. It is so funny. Sounds nice.
I'm here for it. Okay, so you can.
What are you talking about? We have to a boot.
So many. Okay, you can weigh in. Is Notre Dame become likable? I got a little bit of a beef with the broadcast last night. Okay, so they did a fine job. But there was an incident where it looks like a walk-on, a guy who was in uniform on the Georgia sideline, but not suited up for the game. His name is Parker Jones, and he became infamous last night because in the longest play, the longest gain of the game, early in the second quarter, Gunnar Stockton finds Arian Smith for a 67-yard pass, okay? This is the thing that this is the play they needed to try to get the offense going. So as Smith is just racing down the sideline, the referee is racing down the sideline trying to keep up with him to see where he would spot the ball when Smith goes out of bounds eventually, right? So what happens is this kid, Parker Jones, again, who's like a walk-on, was also celebrating. He got into the lane of the referee. Here's what it sounded like on TV.
Arian Smith behind the defender. He is one of the fastest men in college football, and they caught him. And let's look as the official running down, and number 39 runs right into the official, which slows him down. That's who ultimately calls the penalty. You have to stay out of that white part. That is the official's area. They own that white part of the sideline.
You've got one job, dude.
Yeah.
It's to not interfere with anything going on in the game when you are not playing in this game. So it didn't wipe out the whole play, but it did flag them for a 15-yard penalty, and it backed Georgia up to the 26-yard line. They wound up kicking a field goal in a game that they lost 23-10. I mean, Georgia needed offense so badly last night, and this guy, Parker Jones, cost him 15 yards, and he's in sweatpants on the side with a jersey. He's a walk-on from Georgia.
Unbelievable.
Here's why I have beef with the broadcast. This happened in the second quarter, okay? They put the camera on him, and social media blows up, and everyone's making fun of this guy and how he is going to have to transfer at halftime, and he's going to get beat up, and his own teammates are going to hate him and all that stuff. At the end of the game, when Parker Jones has been just a memory, okay? Georgia's getting beat soundly by Notre Dame. Notre Dame won that game. It was not a fluke. The camera puts Parker Jones's face back on your TV screen. Just to rehash, Perloff, what happened in the second quarter. He is not the reason why they lost the game, and I felt like they scapegoated him or attempted to at the end of the broadcast by putting this dude's mug back on camera.
Ooh, I don't know.
There was no reason to show him at that point.
It was a big part of the game. You're right, they didn't lose just because of him, but that was part of the reason they lost.
But even if you're retelling the game, the fumbles, the missed fourth down opportunities. I mean, there were guys who actually played in this game who didn't play up to the standard. The false start penalty when they're trying to drive. I mean, all the things that went wrong for Georgia. Yeah, this guy was one of them, but he's not the only reason they lost. And I thought to go back to him at the end of the game and put him on camera for how many people do you think watched that game last night? 35 million? 40?
I don't know. No, that's a big number.
Okay.
I don't think that happens for college
20 probably.
20, it's Notre Dame.
Yeah, 20, 25, I can see.
Yeah, you're telling me Georgia's got this massive footprint fan base and Notre Dame. I mean, a lot of people have watched that game, and it was a standalone.
Yeah. I mean, like even the biggest, like the Alabama Georgias get like 18 or 19. So this probably might have gotten that, but.
Okay.
Well, anyway, regardless, that 40 million are not watching this game.
Whatever.
Yeah. I kind of disagree with you, though, about like, yes, the impact was huge. Like, I think you put that there with any of those other plays, right? Or I know it was early, but still.
I'm telling you, you can't tell. I get it. 15-yard penalty.
What else are you going to show? Are you going to show Gunnar Stockton, like, or are you going to show the whole punt return team like getting screwed up? Like, I don't know. You can't. I think it was a storyline of the game. That was kind of appropriate. Did you guys have? I'm surprised you have such a big problem with it.
He's 5'11", 190-pound redshirt sophomore who has recorded no stats, and guess what? He's a cornerback. Like, this dude's never seeing the field.
Right.
Ever.
I couldn't believe that guy was a cornerback when they showed him on camera. When he said that he's a redshirt, he's a walk-on cornerback, I'm like, excuse me? I thought he was a long snapper or something.
I thought he was a backup kicker.
Yes. The audience is picking up what we're putting down here. This dude didn't look like he's not getting on the field, okay? And he's not at the top 5 reasons why Georgia lost this game. He is not one of the top 5 reasons they lost the game. He's not.
Well, where do you...
A 15-yard penalty in the second quarter, it didn't wipe out the play. You're at the 26-yard line with a first down. Go score.
Yeah.
Go score. And they couldn't do it. So they kicked a field goal. They couldn't score a touchdown.
He's close to the top 5. I mean, it was a big play.
I don't know how many polls we're putting up today, but I'm just wondering, there's another part of this. Is this, they mentioned Greg McElroy compared him to Bartman on the broadcast. Now, I get it. He wasn't dressed for the game. He's not a fan, though. He's actually on the sideline. He is a member of the team. He just wasn't, in uniform.
I mean, he kind of was dressed like a fan, right? He wore a jersey with no pads and sweatpants. That's kind of what most of the fans in the Georgia student section was wearing.
Yeah.
With the long sleeves underneath when apparently it was 100 degrees in the Superdome.
Yeah, what the hell was that about?
I don't know. But anyway.
It's even like, it was such a weird game. Like, what are the top 5 reasons? Like, why did Georgia lose this game? I'm not saying like it's not, it's not easy to figure out what the top 5 reasons are. I don't even know what happened to Georgia last night. Like, why did their
Notre
offense...
Dame's defense got up in their you-know-what faces.
Or was it their offense was non-functional? Like, I'm not...
Drops?
Yeah, I mean, the drops are crazy.
Down?
Like, I can't tell if that was Georgia screwed the pooch or Notre Dame was just so good or the whole game was just like everybody was rusty because of the Georgia rest. I don't even know what happened to Georgia there. Like, honestly, if I'm walking away from that game, I might as well blame the walk-on because I'm not exactly sure. Like, where did you lose that game? Like, you definitely should have been more careful at the end of the half, and your special teams just got your butts kicked. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Kirby's chewing a lot of people out about the special teams, but I don't even know how Georgia lost because they outgained. For most of the game, they were outgaining Notre Dame like 3-1. Like, Notre Dame didn't do anything, and they still had a double-digit lead for a huge chunk of the game.
There's a lot of reasons why Georgia lost this game. Kirby Smart said we're undisciplined, couldn't execute, couldn't take advantage of gift opportunities at times that Notre Dame gave them. 100 reasons why they lost the game.
You had a good one, too. They just didn't run the ball effectively, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think Trevor Etienne is hurt. And so the other part, and their offensive line, I don't think was as good as it normally is. And they committed bad penalties, the offensive line. These are all guys who are going to be in the NFL. Anyway, I just wonder, is this dude Parker Jones, like, is this the last we've heard of him, or is he Bartman, Jeffrey Mayer? Those are two baseball examples. The other, remember when Mike Tomlin tripped Jacoby Jones?
Yeah, Jacoby Jones. And then remember that crazy guy that was on the Jets coaching staff.
Sal Alosi.
Sal Alosi.
He's closer to that guy.
Yeah.
Not Tomlin's fine.
He's more of a Sal Alosi, a Rex Ryan acolyte who tripped a Patriots player on a special teams play.
He was a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a PS to that guy. I think, and this story has not aged well, I think he was working at UCLA and may have gotten into an altercation with Diddy's son, or Diddy. Can you double check me on that?
You sure it wasn't Snoop Dogg's son? I thought Snoop Dogg played for you. I thought his son played at UCLA.
Could have been, but I think Sal Alosi got into it with a rapper's son.
By the way, can I defend Parker a little bit?
Go. I mean, if you
as
want.
crazy as it may sound, I do feel like he is a walk-on, and what these coaches will tell these guys who don't get any playing time or the guys who are walk-ons, hey, you're on this team basically to be glorified cheerleaders. Like, if you're not going to be playing, you're not going to be dressed, like, you better be invested in the game, active, rooting hard. Like, they're supposed to be kind of what Parker Jones was doing. Did he take it a little too far? Obviously, yes, he did. But I also feel like the ref, you could have gave them a warning. Did you have to throw a 15-yard penalty? It wasn't like Parker Jones gave him a freaking Ray Lewis forearm shiver to the chest. Like, the guy acted like he got killed. Like, I feel bad for the kid. Because I know he was told before the game, hey, you guys, all you walk-ons, you better be invested in this game. Yeah. We're going to need all 75 of us to win. That includes the guys on the sidelines. And he tried his best. And now it hurt his team. And now everybody's calling him Bartman.
That's a great defense. Oh, my God. EJ just totally changed my mind.
Thank you.
He's like the Monmouth bench. Or what's that bench at college basketball?
Yeah, exactly.
The
Monmouth or Gonzaga. I know our guys always are going crazy. Like, those guys that's why they're on the team.
I'm now convinced he's the only reason Georgia was able to stay in the game as long as they could because of the energy coming from that walk-on.
You know, EJ, nice defense.
And actually, the only counter is how bad that kid's haircut was. Like, that was like the SEC frat boy haircut that annoys everybody.
Insufferable. But the other part is, you're right, but you've got a whole sideline. The only place you can't go is, 4 feet in the white?
He took it too far. I get it. He took it too far. But this is the Sugar Bowl. Yeah. It's a big game. It's a playoff. It's the biggest play of the game. There weren't many exciting plays in this game, for Georgia especially. And he got caught. But I know those coaches told all those bench guys, all those walk-ons, hey, you better be up on the sidelines. You better be hyped, getting the crowd hyped. Yeah. He was trying to do his job. He just took it too far.
Did that Jets guy, by the way, he had like his players form a wall. Like, he was like intentionally trying to interfere with plays on a consistent basis, as I remember.
Repeat offender.
He was like
Manny looked it up. I was right. Sal Alosi was a strength and conditioning coach for the Jets. And what was it, Manny?
Sean Diddy Combs, whose son Justin Combs is a reserve on the defensive back with the Bruins. Yeah, he got into an altercation. So Diddy got into an altercation with Alosi because of the treatment of his son Justin.
Sal Alosi is a very brave man to be getting into any altercations with Diddy. That guy blows up cars.
Have you
allegedly
seen Sal since? Can someone check on this guy?
Oh, that's true too.
I said the story didn't age well. I feel like I did preface this by saying the story didn't age well. But yeah. Does Parker Jones now, the walk-on who interfered with the biggest offensive play of the game for Georgia, does he go down in infamy? Or is he forgotten? 855-212-4227. Coming up, got a little breaking news for you from the coaching ranks. We'll get to that in a minute. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. All right, Maggie, you teased some coaching news. Lay it on us.
It looks like today, according to Zach Rosenblatt, the New York Jets will interview Mike Vrabel at their facility. And Vrabel's obviously the hottest coaching candidate available, right? Besides Ben Johnson,
yeah, now
maybe?
that Belichick's in North Carolina. Ben Johnson, yeah, you could say Ben Johnson, but Vrabel certainly is going to be in demand.
No doubt. So Mike Vrabel is going to be at the Jets facility today doing an interview, and I asked Perloff from the break, do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing for Aaron Rodgers? Does this mean he's more likely to come back or not come back? And you said they're actually very good friends.
Well, yeah, they had a dust-up. Actually, I totally remember this. The Packers were playing the Titans, and Rodgers was talking trash to him in the middle of the game. And afterwards, on the McAfee show, he said that they got in a little bit of a standoff there, but they're very good friends. They talk all season long.
Interesting.
Because Vrabel's obviously very close to A.J. Hawk, both Ohio State guys, and Rodgers' best friend is A.J. Hawk, so I assume there's a group there. I'm sure they socialize.
Yeah, it's funny because on the surface, I actually don't put Rodgers and Vrabel. They don't look like two guys who would get a beer to me because
Really?
Rodgers, well, maybe just because I watch his I can't call it a documentary. I watched the movie about Aaron Rodgers. He's very woo-woo.
Yeah, but that's new Aaron Rodgers.
Right, exactly.
He was get a beer with a lineman guy for a big chunk of his career.
Go to a pub and have a Guinness?
Yeah.
But right now Aaron Rodgers, where there's a question, who knows what he's like behind the scenes. But at least what he's putting out publicly is that, hey, listen, everything's got a silver lining, and whether we win or lose, it was really just about the friends we made along the way. And I don't think Mike Vrabel's like that at all. Now, get a beer together, sure. Obviously they have tons in common. Yeah. But I just don't see them as two guys who would click. I think the egos would be pretty big. I think Mike Vrabel is probably looking at Tennessee thinking, you guys got rid of me. You made a massive mistake. Your general manager thought Will Levis was going to be the future. That guy's got to go. I'm not going to be second fiddle and second banana to a GM or to a quarterback, quite frankly. So I wonder if Vrabel feels like he's earned, or maybe with this opportunity, he's going to ask for a little bit more power. I don't know, but he certainly feels like he's in the driver's seat with some of these interviews.
Well, I think Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, probably wants to get rid of Rodgers. There's clearly some kind of tension going on there. I know Chris Johnson, the brother, gets along well. So I think the Jets want to get rid of Rodgers anyway. But just personality-wise, I know what you're saying about the ayahuasca Aaron Rodgers, but think about Aaron Rodgers gets along beautifully with Pat McAfee.
Right.
And I feel like Vrabel is in the same lane. Remember that draft where Vrabel had all that funny stuff going on?
Someone literally sitting on the toilet with the door open.
I just feel like they're both
knucklehead kids.
I know Rodgers is all about new age medicine, but there's a lot of NFL bro in him. Look at his friends through the years. He definitely Vrabel, McAfee, Rodgers, those guys probably all get along. I agree. I don't think a coach is going to come in there and want this unsettled situation with Aaron Rodgers for maybe one more season. You would probably want to build something from the ground up. You'd probably want a rookie quarterback or something. I'm not exactly sure where this Jets quarterback magically comes from if it's not Aaron Rodgers.
It feels like they're hoping one just materializes out of thin air.
Is it a free agent? They can't bring Sam Darnold back. I have no idea, theoretically.
Kirk
maybe
Cousins?
A draft guy? I mean, yeah.
Cousins already
another Achilles
once.
guy?
But and Kirk Cousins played them.
Does Vrabel want Kirk
pretty
Cousins?
hard a couple of years ago? He actually took less money to go to the Vikings.
You bring up a good question. Vrabel wants to be the man. Does that mean I bring Ryan Tannehill in? I don't even know what this looks like.
Tannehill? He's not a milk carton. Where's that?
Yuck.
I think he's all but retired, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this quarterback comes from.
He is 5 years younger than Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's not a shock.
Yeah, he's 36. But I honestly, you laugh. I'm sure that he could be the second string of backup there.
Carson Wentz? I don't know.
Oh, geez. Let's go. Jets fans,
buckle up.
Buckle up. I mean, maybe one
good news that Vrabel was going to be here. Now you're telling me Tannehill or what's the other guy? Carson Wentz. I mean,
maybe one of the quarterbacks falls to you. Maybe it's Jalen Milroe.
This crap is crap.
It is. I have them as number 7 draft pick on Tankathon. Maybe you get a rookie out of that. So it's Vrabel's coming into what exactly is my point.
I'm not saying he's taking this job, by the way. All I gave you was the news is that he's interviewing for it. And the other part is this is so very Jets to be interviewing the general managers and the head coaches at the same time. They do this. It's a ridiculous thing because now you have two guys who are not hired together. One guy didn't hire the other guy. They both report to the owner, who we know is a wild card. So I wonder if Brick and Jack, the two sons of Woody Johnson, also get to sit in on the interview and ask a couple questions.
Well, I don't think Madden has ratings on coaches, so I hope to God they're not.
Did you see last night? All of social media was putting Marcus Freeman on the Jets sideline. I'm like, dude, don't do that, Marcus.
Why in hell would he do that?
I don't know. It's he's now the hot NFL name too.
I don't understand that, by the way.
I mean, I get he's obviously a very good coach, very charismatic.
I mean, before this season, he was losing to Marshall and Northern Illinois. I'm a big Marcus Freeman fan, but I've heard Marcus Freeman to the Bears. I'm just what?
We do this all the time with college coaches.
Let's let him win a championship. Let's let him. I don't know. He's still a young, developing coach to me.
Let's get
He's
to
just
Bogusch.
very, very likable.
Yeah, I get it.
No, it looks like the team. They obviously love him. Bogusch has headlines for us. I don't know if you were planning to do that Mike Vrabel thing. Sorry if I stole your thunder.
You did not.
Okay.
All 68,000 seats were sold, but the announced attendance at the Superdome yesterday, just over 57,000 fans. Matt Baker from The Athletic, who was on the show yesterday, said it felt neither normal nor abnormal inside the venue as New Orleans began to heal from Wednesday's terror attack. After 60 minutes of football, Notre Dame had a 23-10 win over Georgia. Irish head coach Marcus Freeman on navigating an emotional 2 days.
They had to be able to still get ready for this game with the natural emotions that come into each individual that happen after the tragedy. And so I'm proud of the way they prepared. They stayed steady, and they went out and they did a great job.
His defense led the way. Georgia had just 10 first-half rushing yards. They only converted 2 third or fourth downs, and Notre Dame had 9 tackles for loss, including a strip sack that led to ND's first touchdown just before halftime. The Irish would score 17 points over a 54-second span, bridging halftime to take a 23 lead. This is their first major bowl win since the 94 Cotton Bowl. It was not the ending that Kirby Smart wanted to a season that did not go as planned.
What they went through this year and what they played, how they played, the resiliency, the injuries that we've had, and win an SEC championship, which I have so much respect for our conference, and to win some of the comeback games they won and never quit, even in this game, never quit. That's the attitude you got to have to get better as a football program.
So it'll be Notre Dame and Penn State in a semifinal in Miami next Thursday night. With their season on the line, the Bengals have T. Higgins and running back Chase Brown as questionable for tomorrow night's game with the Steelers with lower body injuries. We also get Browns-Ravens tomorrow. Cleveland expected to start Bailey Zappi at QB.
Yes.
In that one.
Did you lose a bet or something?
Yeah. Did you guys see the spread on that game?
Yes.
Infinity?
I think it's 18 and a half or
20. I looked this morning.
My Lord. It's an NFL game.
And you would never, ever, anybody who bet on the Browns with Bailey Zappi be crazy, too.
I'm sorry, I zoned out for a second. You said Ohio State is playing Akron this weekend?
Seriously. Basically, yes.
I think Bailey Zappi, I'm a big Zappi fan.
Yes, what did you always say?
I was Zappi curious in New England. I mean, you guys like Will Howard. He's the same exact person as Bailey Zappi.
No, I thought one of the best opinions you've ever had was that Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones were actually the same guy.
Oh, right. They were under the helmet. They were trying to confuse the defense.
Yeah. It's like sister. What, they were twins and they just changed jerseys?
Parent trap?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still Baltimore minus 20 right now. Oh, my God.
I love it. They're like, Robert Kraft really prefers Bailey Zappi. It's like, how can he tell? He's like 85. He's up there. You can tell Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. I doubt it, sir.
Meanwhile, good times in Miami. The Heat took a 128-115 loss from the Pacers last night. Jimmy Butler scored just 9 points before watching the fourth quarter for the second straight game and then said this afterwards.
I want to see me get my joy back from playing basketball. And wherever that may be, we'll find out here pretty soon.
Didn't his agent tell us the trade rumors were nonsense? Butler,
what phenomenal culture.
Yeah.
There is just not an eye roll big enough for Jimmy Butler right now. But as this is so hard to take from someone who, this is not the first time he's done something like this, number one. And he did this in Minnesota. And then the other part is somebody who's just like, how dare you complain? Yet, I think Jimmy Butler will also go to another team and help them win a title.
Yeah, I'd take him on my team.
You already had him on your team. You let him go for Tobias Harris.
Take him again.
You don't get a second shot.
He went on to say he is happy off the court in Miami. When asked if he could re-find that joy on the court in South Beach, he quickly said probably not. Speaking of the Sixers,
got his own barista. We're supposed to feel bad for him. Literally, someone comes to his house to make coffee.
I'm emo. Leave me alone.
The Sixers'
no sympathy.
Big three played together for a change last night in San Francisco, but the Warriors won 139-105. Steph Curry 8 for 8 from 3, scoring 30.
Sheesh.
We have a big three?
Well, we have 3.
I've never heard us described as a big 3, but I'm back.
So it's...
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I would write it not capitalized B in big 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George all played.
It's more
last
like
night.
1.5. Big 1.5.
Lamest.
It's like a medium three.
The big three.
I think Ice Cube has more claim to a big three league than that.
Yeah, give me Joe Johnson and Sharif Abdul-Rahim
The
on my
Sixers'
big
main
three.
3 players who were often injured were all healthy at the same time last night. Is that
And they
better?
lost?
And they lost by 25.
Nice.
I'm sorry. They lost by 34.
Yeah.
Let me correct my math.
This is my favorite
Whoops.
update, Bogusch. More of these, please. Heat falling apart. Sixers mid-3 loses again. Keep going.
Mid-3.
Here, how about this? Number 19, Gonzaga beat Portland last night. The Pilots, not the Blazers. 81-50. And our beloved San Jose Sharks got their first home win since November 29th, 2-1 over the Lightning. Guys, back to you. Oh, by the way, I should tell you, because I'm contractually obligated to do so, that all of that was brought to you by GoodRx. For simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, go to goodrx.com or download the free GoodRx app. Now I'm done. Thank you, Mike Breen.
Kick, save, and a butte, Bogusch.
Yeah.
Well done. Coming up, I thought we heard the worst idea in sports yesterday until Perloff said, no, I love it. We do not see this thing eye to eye. We'll get to that in just a moment. Is it the worst idea or the best idea? You be the judge next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Notre Dame beats Georgia last night. We'll get more into that game in just a moment. Notre Dame, goes on to play Penn State. It's Texas and Ohio State in the other national semifinal. Those happen next week on Thursday and Friday. But it was funny. We saw this headline that came up, and I don't know if EJ and I were both like, oh boy, this is the worst idea we've ever heard. And Perloff, you thought it was the best idea you've ever heard. And the headline...
It's a bit of a
one of the
oversell,
best.
but yeah, I like it.
This is from former general manager Mike Tannenbaum, who says a lot of things, to be fair, believe that Kirk Cousins would be a good fit with the Cleveland Browns.
Right. Why is that surprising?
If I'm Kirk Cousins, there is not enough money in the world, considering how much money he's already made in his life. There's not enough money in the world for me to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Why would he ever want to get mixed up in that mess? And I'm talking about from the Deshaun Watson aspect of it. What's his future? They still owe him $100 million guaranteed, to the fact that it's the Browns and they've been a factory of sadness and futility for years. And I'm coming off an Achilles. I have to play in the NFC North. I can list
AFC North, yeah.
Excuse me, AFC North, excuse me. A laundry list of things and reasons why Kirk Cousins should stay far away from this team.
Kirk Cousins was born to quarterback this team. I mean, obviously, him and Stefanski have amazing chemistry. Like, that's why Stefanski got a head job. He coached them in the Vikings. They have a sick offensive line if they all get healthy, and enough talented receiver. Like, there's no Deshaun Watson. He's not even in the mix. He tore his Achilles in October. He's out. He's not coming back. So you have the team, and you're going to be better next year. Again, as my good friend Dr. Rock Positano says, Achilles is always a 2-year recovery. You need a second year to get confidence in that leg. So Cousins is going to be healthy. He's going to have his coach. He's going to have receivers. He's going to have an offensive line.
But pause on that, because yes, it takes you maybe 2 years to get fully back to yourself. But Deshaun Watson is going to come back. October to October. It's going to be a year. And
that's October. Yeah,
the season's barely started in October. The NFL season is so long.
Yeah, but Deshaun's not going to. If Cousins plays well, Deshaun's not going to be really ready to go. He's not going to have a camp. Like, you think he's going to come in mid-season off an Achilles and just like he hasn't been able to stay healthy?
How are they going to afford both of these guys?
That I don't understand. He's going to have to do like a Russell Wilson $1 million deal, which Kirk Cousins generally does not do. But as far as like football, like, can you picture a better spot for Kirk Cousins? It's definitely better than Atlanta. Like with an unproven offensive coordinator, this feels like this offense could work. Like, this is, I always call it the Kubiak offense, where basically Kirk Cousins is going to play action and roll right and find somebody every single day. He's got Njoku, he's got Judy, who I don't love. Like this is going to be a good offense.
But why would it be better than what he has in Atlanta?
Because
We
the
say
coaching.
Drake London, and he's got Bijan Robinson. And this is the whole reason why we thought Atlanta was going to win this division, and it wasn't, and they'd walk away with it.
Coaching. Is Zach Robinson, right? Who's the first time
Who came from
offensive
Sean McVay, who everyone was high on.
But I mean, obviously, Kevin Stefanski and Kirk Cousins would be like a hand in glove.
Is Kevin Stefanski long for the Browns?
Well, he has to be there in this formula to work. Obviously, Kirk Cousins isn't coming there if they fire Kevin Stefanski.
No, I get that. And again, this was Mike Tannenbaum who floated this out as a former general manager. But I think if I'm Kirk, I'm like, all right, what other ideas you got?
I think that's the best one. There's nothing better coming. Like he's not going to get with he's not going to get Kevin O'Connell. Like that's not happening. It's going to be a terrible bridge situation. At least this is a good spot because I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be healthy this year.
No one has ever said that Cleveland's a good spot in the history of Cleveland.
Oh, I disagree. Like you're basically
telling him to go to the Jets. I mean, to be honest, like there's a part of Cleveland, and I think the most staunch Cleveland Brown fan would back me up on this. There's a part of it that you can put any team on paper there. You can have any, and you'll wonder, all right, how's this thing going to get messed up? Not how's this going to work?
I know, but they still had hope when Baker was there. They had a little hope. They thought when Deshaun got there that it would be like
right.
At least
Think about
hope.
It.
I understand what you're saying. Of course, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins is not going to have a lot of choices.
But think about it. They did have Baker Mayfield. They did win a playoff game with him, and then they showed him the door.
Yeah.
So, like, even when they actually had a good thing, they didn't know enough to keep the good thing. So, like, this is why you always say bad owners. You'll never win with a bad ownership, and the Browns
totally
are
agree.
bad owners.
Yeah, but it's Kirk Cousins. He's not going to have his choice of good owners. Like the good owners already have quarterbacks. He's going to have to choose the Jets or the Browns or some team like that. And this is a place where he could put up huge numbers. He's got, you said the AFC North, their defenses, except for Pittsburgh, have totally fallen off.
Yeah,
well, Cincinnati
Baltimore's come on a little bit in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, he could throw. He's going to get in shootouts against Baltimore and Cincinnati. Like he'll probably throw if he was there. It's a lot of contracts have to work out. He'll probably have like another Pro Bowl season.
I think you're forgetting there could be spots open for him, like San Francisco. I mean, what's going on?
I don't think so.
Well, but we talked about the cult of Kirk, right?
Yeah.
And all the coaches who love his game. You're telling me if Brock Purdy, I know the elbow injury doesn't look like it's as serious as maybe we once thought, so that's great. So Brock Purdy doesn't look like he's going to miss any time. But you're telling me that Kirk might want to be a part of that San Francisco situation? Purdy's now gotten hurt 2 out of the 3 years he's been a QB.
Yeah,
I'd much rather be the backup to Purdy than be the starter in Cleveland.
I don't know if San Francisco would do that to Purdy. I think that'd be tough.
Well, Kirk would have to be the backup at 36 with the Achilles, and you got to pay Purdy so that he knows that he's the guy.
Yeah, I don't think San Francisco is going to do that. That would be controversial to bring in Kirk Cousins when like Brock Purdy's struggling really badly right now. Like that would be tough.
I've heard Sam Darnold to the 49ers. Sam Darnold would be worse.
Yeah, none of that's happening
killer.
now. Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Tennessee, there's going to be other places. The Jets.
Terrible.
The Browns is also a terrible situation.
Not for him. This would be good. I'm telling you, I've watched him run Stefanski's offense. He knows it left and right. Like this is the spot. And Njoku's amazing. I think I think this is the spot for him. I think that if he's there, he has a huge statistical season, as Kirk Cousins tends to do.
Well, anyone who thinks the Cleveland Browns are one Kirk Cousins away is delusional.
No. Like Kirk Cousins never won any of these spots, but yeah, don't you think he could put up like a pretty decent season there?
Nope. No, I do not.
I think if you marry a healthy Kirk Cousins and Kevin Stefanski, you are going to get 4,400 yards and 28 touchdowns.
Meanwhile, there is a shot. It feels a little slim, but you never know. There's a shot that the Falcons get into the playoffs. Obviously, it wouldn't be Kirk Cousins. It'd be Michael Penix. Atlanta needs to win against Carolina this weekend, and then they need the Bucs to lose to the New Orleans Saints. I don't think anyone believes the Bucs will lose to the Saints. But because of the season sweep that they had over the Bucs, they're technically still alive. And
I mean,
just setting up a little Week 18.
Kind of like the Bengals are still alive. Like
the Bengals are still very alive.
very, as in, like, I saw their Super Bowl odds are like 1 in a million. It's very, you honestly think these backups are going to win these games?
So the Cincinnati Bengals, yes, they need a lot to go right. Number one, they've got to beat the Steelers. That's first and foremost. That happens on Saturday. They've got to beat the Steelers. Then
who might be playing for something? They might not be.
They might not be, depends. Because if the Ravens beat the Browns and they're a 20-point favorite, then those Browns that you keep talking about, how awesome things are going over there. They're 20-point underdog to the Ravens, who can clinch the AFC North. Cincy needs to beat Pittsburgh. They need the Broncos to lose to Kansas City, and they need the Dolphins to lose or tie the Jets.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, it's unlikely. Look at the odds.
And by the way, if Cincinnati, Denver, and Miami all lose, Denver gets in. We're talking about the last wild card spot in the AFC.
Listen, the Bengals are my Super Bowl team, so I desperately want to save that one out of nowhere. It ain't happening. It's just, how could Denver show up and lose to Carson Wentz?
Easily. Well, they're not going to show up. The game's in Denver. But it would be, listen, anytime you have a rookie quarterback, anything can happen. And I like Bo Nix a lot, but he turns the ball over.
So right now, the Cincinnati Bengals are 250 to 1 to win the Super Bowl.
Well, we're talking about just getting into the playoffs.
No, I know, but that's baked in that nobody thinks they're making the playoffs. It's going to be impossible. They get in that playoffs, watch out, but they are not getting in, Maggie. I'm sorry. I'm saying it declaratively.
Denver is a 10.5-point favorite over Carson Wentz. You don't think he's taking that personally? Future Jets quarterback Carson Wentz?
Good point.
Buckle up, BJ. All right, coming up next, the Minnesota Vikings and the Lions play.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Peter Bellotti loves when he's baking treats. He dances with joy every time he eats. Crispy strips of happiness, that's no lie. Peter's in baking heaven, reaching for the sky. Wendy's bacon makes Peter so glad. One bite, he's the happiest lad. Crispy, crunchy, bacon delight. Peter's in bliss, morning, noon, and night. Can't get enough. Wendy's bacon is his favorite stuff. Each crunchy bite brings a smile so wide. Peter's pure joy, he can't hide. Wendy's bacon makes Peter so glad. One bite, he's the happiest lad. Crispy, crunchy, bacon delight. Peter's in bliss, morning, noon, and night. So if you see Peter with a grin so wide, you'll know Wendy's bacon is the reason why. Bacon bliss in every bite. Peter's happiness shining bright. Wendy's bacon makes Peter so glad. One bite, he's the happiest lad. Crispy, crunchy, bacon delight. Peter's in bliss, morning, noon, and night. He orders a stack, can't get enough. Wendy's bacon is his favorite.
2 minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Addison slot right. Jefferson outside of him. 1st and 10 from the Green Bay 18. The Vikings are chewing on the clock here in the third quarter. Play action. And Sam throws to the right. Throws to Addison. Caught. Touchdown! Jordan Addison with his 9th receiving touchdown this year. The Vikings have a 19-3 lead.
Who else? The voice of Paul Allen, Vikings play-by-play. He's been with the team. He's been the voice of the team. He has lived and died with this team. And now, looky, Perloff, we get a Week 18 Vikings-Lions, not only for the number 1 seed in the NFC, most importantly, also for the division. I mean, you cannot write it any better. And Paul Allen is good enough to join us now. Paul, Perloff, and Maggie here, thanks so much for the time. How do you prepare for a big game like this?
Well, it with the hopes of not destroying this camera angle, it involves a lot of these. It involves depth charts from playing the Lions the first time, the most recent game against Green Bay, and then starting to get this bad boy together for this weekend, and going to practice, and seeing if the Vikings have any tricks up their sleeves to maybe counter the old stumble bum or fumble Ruski or Penei Sewell on a jet sweep, and the right tackle's going to throw the ball. So it's just putting in a lot of time, but you know what? It's an absolute joy to be around the facility pretty much 5-6 days a week at this stage of the season with so much at stake Sunday night.
Paul, did you have any idea that you'd be coming into Week 18 with a game meaning this against the Lions, the entire conference on the line? Did you see it coming?
Well, I can't say that I did. I mean, it's into the season doing what we do, specifically, in an individual market like this, doing a radio show on KFan, people have expectations for people to make record predictions because it's fun. And I generally have no problem making record predictions. I couldn't come up with a number this year, but what I knew, for anybody who was interested, I would look at the team at organized team activities. First time I put my eyes on Darnold or Aaron Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, and so on, where I'd called games with those guys in them, but I'd never really seen them up close and personally like that. And then we got through training camp and the joint practices at Cleveland, and we're set to play the Giants in week 1. And I would tell people, for what it's worth, in all my years doing this, I think I know what a playoff team looks like, and I think I know what a non-playoff team looks like. So I don't know if this is a 9-win playoff team or if it's a 15-win playoff team, But I was quite confident the team would make the playoffs.
Well, one win on Sunday night, you'd be right on the ladder. There are 14 wins right now, twin records with the Lions, 14-2. And Paul Allen's joining us, Vikings play-by-play and radio host, I should mention as well. You know, you mentioned about the crazy trick plays that the Lions pull out, Paul, and Perloff always says they're hurting themselves doing this because they don't need all that trickery. They could beat anyone straight up. Do you think Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, feels like he needs to match the Lions in their creativity offensively, or does he feel like he can play more of a, I don't want to say vanilla when you've got Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, but do you think he feels like he can play this thing a little more straight up?
Well, I mean, it's, simply because you don't offer tricks doesn't mean you don't have treats. In other words, Sam Darnold and Jared Goff have the exact same amount of completed passes down the field of 20 yards or more. I think that number's like 60. So I guess it doesn't really matter how you get to the winner's circle as long as you get there and everybody's getting their picture taken. So, over the course of the season, we've had Justin Jefferson throw a pass. There was a play with a backup running back, Ty Chandler. He was going to throw a pass, but it didn't work. Our punter, Ryan Wright, threw a pass a couple of years ago. They have a bevy of tricks, but I don't look at this in any way as a shoe size contest between O'Connell and Ben Johnson. Now, Ben Johnson versus Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, I mean, that's a heavyweight battle matching wits. And they're both they both probably want head coaching jobs in the very near future. So, Sunday night to a certain extent has a little bit of resume tape to it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So what did you learn in the first matchup that you think applies to this game? I think both Darnold and Goff were pretty darn good.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is unbelievable. I mean, I've called 3 of his games now. I think he scored against us every time. He had 2 touchdowns at US Bank Stadium week 7, and that was with David Montgomery. So deep diving what they're doing with Gibbs and Craig Reynolds and some other things that they're doing without Montgomery. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is just a supreme problem. Now, there are ways and situations you can put him in that potentially compromises his effectiveness, but can you do that over the totality of a game? So the longest run the Vikings have given up this year is 45 yards. It went to Jahmyr Gibbs. It was a touchdown, and the run defense here has been super sound all season. But Detroit's just super organized, just a very organized team, able to overcome the adversity of all of these injuries. They're going to get Alex Anzalone back this week. That's going to help them a lot. But it's just 2 of the most organized, responsible, efficient teams in the NFL with absolutely 2 of the best coaching staffs in the NFL.
Paul Allen's joining us, Vikings play-by-play radio host in Minnesota, who is going to be on the call, obviously, Sunday night. Winner take all for the NFC, that number 1 seed, the bye, all the fruits that go with that, and then also, obviously, the division too. Paul, for the people out there, and I'll raise my hand, and it's not that I'm not a Darnold disbeliever. And it's not that I'm not a hater, that's for sure. He's impossible to hate against. The guy's a feel-good story, how he's resurrected his career. The Jets did him no favors early in his career. I just want to see more. For people like me who have not been fully convinced yet that this is the real Sam Darnold, what would you say to someone like me?
Well, I mean, what do you want to see? He's the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to win 14 games with a new team. He has 35 touchdown passes that as we go here, Brett Favre in 2009 in his first season with the Vikings threw 33. Sam's thrown 35. And his maneuverability is coy. He's very adroit when it comes to getting into the right play. I think one of the real underrated things with Sam is the plays he's making, putting Jefferson on all those touchdowns. Addison has never looked better in his 2 years, and so on. Is the things that he's not doing. It's the when the Vikings went to Jacksonville, middle of the season, all right, Sam tried to force the ball to Justin Jefferson 3 times, and they were picked off each and every time. In fact, he had 4 interceptions in that game, but the one to Ronald Darby was nullified because of a penalty. Then the team goes to Tennessee the next week, and there were just a couple of head scratchers trying to force it to Jefferson, and didn't work. And then they go to Soldier Field. All right, that's kind of where it all came together because Jefferson was put in a double, triple, and quadruple team vice. He only had 2 catches, a 20-yarder in overtime that they needed like they needed to breathe, but only 2 catches for Justin Jefferson. But in that game, Jordan Addison went for 169, TJ Hawkinson went for 114, 109 in the second half, and Aaron Jones ran for more than 100. All right, so now it's the pick your poison legitimately. And what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to continue to triple 18? Well, look what Addison can do to you, and look what Hawkinson and Jones can do to you. And now you got Jalen Naylor with 6 touchdowns. So it's not exactly an embarrassment of riches here, but Sam has a lot of options to whom he can throw. And from that Jacksonville game to where we are now, he's just improved every single week. And, really the plays he's not making, the bad plays, those have been signature moments.
Paul, I mean, I know you're focused on Sunday, but reports starting to leak out about the future of Sam Darnold. What do you think the temperature in the building is right now about what do we do this offseason when Sam Darnold becomes a free agent?
I mean, running a business like this, you just have to know that they have an idea of what they want to do. Being around there and taking in practice and doing radio shows and Vikings entertainment work and stuff as kind of a hired gun for the Minnesota Vikings, that's the last question I'm going to ask. It's a complete buzzkill. It's an absolute buzzkill in a 14-2 production. So, it's not like, and with me doing a radio show, I get peppered with it quite a bit. Are they going to franchise him? Are they going to franchise him and tag him? Are they going to give him a ballyhoo deal? What are they going to do? Is somebody going to come after him? Are you going to get massive assets? I mean, I hear it all the time. But when you walk into Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center to a person, there's not one equipment person, media relations, medical person who comes up, taps. Oh, hey, and
we lost you.
Hopefully,
you're back.
Hopefully that's what happens to the Lions' offense in the fourth quarter on Sunday night. But to a person, not one person, ever brings it up within the facility. It's just not the right time to talk about it.
Paul, I understand that, but what about the J.J. McCarthy of it all? We obviously know that he had the meniscus tear. Did we just lose? We lost him? Lost him? EJ Manny, I'm getting a massive thumbs down. Oh, wait, I think Paul might be back. Perloff, I get it.
Yep.
Why people in the facility may not want to be talking about this. You have a 14-win season. You've got the NFC is right here. You control it. If you win this game on Sunday, you get the number 1 seed. For the rest of us who are very interested where these dominoes could fall, we're interested in it. Paul, we got you back. Paul Allen joining us, who's Vikings play-by-play.
Maggie.
Just for another minute. The J.J. McCarthy.
But with that Darnold comment you made, I would just like to know why you can't get on board.
So a couple things. One, I watch Kirk Cousins also have a lot of success here, right? And Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, so it's not against him. I'm wondering if, and this is not against Sam, if you put him on another team though, is he look this way? And to be honest, you could tell me who cares? Because he's on this team now. But while the Vikings,
that's the answer.
Well, I think that's
the answer. You're not trying to run double moves to Robbie Anderson, Ian Thomas, and Chris Herndon. I mean, you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones here. It's that was the one thing that kind of bugged me into the season, where it's too many people were going back to the Jets and Carolina days with Sam. Well, that's just unfair. I mean, it's because the talent here and the coaching staff here is completely different than anything for whom he's played when he played. Now, I mean, that year he got in San Francisco to sit back and watch it, that was a very important year. And you know who's getting one of those right now? Daniel Jones. So it's like, we got Daniel Jones on our practice squad. People are like, okay, we're happy for you. Really? All right. Well, I think O'Connell and his staff get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to these reclamation projects. So, like, if Darnold's here or if he's not here, if McCarthy starts or if he doesn't start, and Jones gets an opportunity, O'Connell and his staff get the benefit of the doubt. They've earned that. I mean, they got passing touchdowns out of Josh Dobbs last year. Now, that thing had an expiration date when we went to Vegas, and he threw a hospital ball to Justin Jefferson, and that was it.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, this coaching staff is high end. I would be actually surprised if Kevin O'Connell does not win Coach of the Year. And he gets the benefit of the doubt with players like Daniel Jones and resurrecting careers and turning reclamation projects into monsters like he's done with like he and they have done with Darnold. So
I guess
things are really good here.
No, it's great, and it's awesome for the Vikings, and I agree with you about Kevin O'Connell. I guess I just see it this way, right? I'm not putting myself in the Vikings shoes necessarily when I'm saying
I know what you mean.
How much more I want to see from Darnold. He's going to be one of the hottest names out there. And we know these quarterback salaries, Paul, are getting insane. Is he actually done enough to warrant, someone plunking down $200 million to make Sam Darnold their futures? And that's really where I'm coming from.
I don't know about 200, and I feel you on what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, Sunday night, if Sam comes out and goes 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, I'm going to be honest with you, I'll be dead shocked. I mean, absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean everything has to be 3 touchdowns, 289, and no interceptions with 1 sack. The Lions and other teams at this stage of the season get to make plays too. But Sam has earned himself a bountiful payday, and the general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, has done a wonderful job on 2 levels. We have 5 quarterbacks here, and outside of Brett Rippon, I think people have heard of most of them, from a pretty significant standpoint. Secondly, the general manager, by not paying a quarterback an exponential amount of money, well, you're able to fortify with 14 free agents, and most, if not all of them, have helped. And some are going to the Pro Bowl. So there's just been a switch and kind of a flip with how they're running things here from a free agency and a draft standpoint. And it's really, really working at a high level.
Paul, when you got cut off, Maggie was asking about what's JJ McCarthy like around the facility right now? Is he limping? What the JJ McCarthy of it all is very confusing for people who are not in Minnesota, because he looks like this great prospect who's sitting behind this revelation in Sam Darnold.
Well, he is. I mean, he is a great prospect, and the truncated time that we got to see him, it looked good. So he rides around on the scooter in the facility quite a bit. He's in all the quarterback and offensive meetings. He participates quite significantly, and JJ will play when it's time for McCarthy to play. But right now, this is Sam Darnold's team. This is Sam Darnold's moment. And that moment they had in the locker room after the last game that kind of blew up a little bit on social media, where they elevated him and they're throwing water on him. It was kind of like, he's a jolly good fellow and he's a jolly good fellow. And to look at Sam's face, because I know Sam, but I don't know him as well as I know some other players, because it all kind of started, at least with me, my type. He was kind of distant and quiet and just kind of looking around to figure things out. But because he's just taken it on the chin for so many years, being a first-round pick, everybody said sucked. And now all of a sudden, he's atop the heap, and a lot of people want to be next to him and kind of tug on his garment and get interviews and stuff like that. I mean, that's eye-opening, and you got to be careful, with whom you're interacting during situations like that. But to see Sam really come out into his own skin and into his own personality and be himself during the course of the season, those are things that I really, really enjoy about this job. Every bit as much as saying, touchdown, Vikings.
We love that. Paul Allen is the Vikings play-by-play, also radio host in Minnesota. Have a great time. Have fun. This is why we do this stuff, Paul, for games like you're going to get to call on Sunday night, Vikings-Lions, for the whole NFC enchilada. Thank you.
Yep, that's sweet. Good luck to you guys. Let's do this more often if the Vikings advance, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank
you so much. Yeah. And the number 1 overall seed in the NFC is on the line here in this game, Perloff. It doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I was actually thinking, Paul asked you, what do you need to see from Sam Darnold? I'm like, well, 2 parades in Minnesota, 2 Super Bowls in, Maggie, yeah, I just don't see it with this guy. I totally agree with Paul. I mean, that Jets situation. I'm telling you, you prorate Sam Darnold's Jets stats, and he was basically a Pro Bowler, because you have to put the Jets filter in Pro Football Reference. And even in Carolina, he had a couple had a couple moments. So he definitely, it's really interesting. He said Daniel Jones is the guy who's having that season now, getting to watch.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was going to utter the words Carson Wentz.
Ooh,
having the Sam Darnold sap in San Francisco. Carson Wentz is sitting this year in Kansas City. I feel like Carson Wentz is clearly next year's Sam Darnold.
He might be a future and thus former Jets quarterback.
Well, no,
I believe that.
But
they
no,
will
no,
both
no.
have worn a Jets uniform before this is all said and done.
Sam Darnold, he could go to a good team and be good. I'm not putting I'm saying, like Carson Wentz could go to a good offensive coach and be really good, in the right spot. Jets, no. If he goes to Jets, then nah.
I think there's the one thing about Darnold's obviously having a spectacular glow up right now. But the one thing about that really helps his case for the Jets, not just that it's the Jets, and so lots of quarterbacks go there and fail, but think about it. And EJ, I think I'm right about this. You're our diehard Jets fan around here. Nobody who was coaching him, I don't think is even working in the league anymore.
I don't think so. Yeah,
So-
I feel like I looked at that staff recently.
Adam Gase obviously was his head coach who's gone, and I think Jeremy Bates was his offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
he's in college.
Done. Yeah, not in NFL.
I don't think anyone who was around him
But did he?
at the Jets, I don't think is working anymore.
He only had Gase in New York.
Think so. Yeah, I think that was.
yeah.
He didn't have Salah, so
Or Bowles.
he may have had Bowles.
He
year
might have
one.
Bowles the first year.
Yeah, then he had Gase.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Get it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but Bowles at least is likely going to the playoffs this year.
No,
He's
no.
the defensive side, though.
Right, Bowles. Yeah, that's a good point. But actually, Baker looks amazing this year, so that is a good point. But obviously, Sam Darnold was. We all agree he was in tough spots on that particular Jets offense. So I just think, we were talking earlier about Kirk Cousins and Kevin Stefanski. The marriage of quarterback and coach is a huge deal. It's always a big deal.
There's another part, too, about Darnold, which is very much not of the now. And I know he just was in the draft in 2018, so it wasn't that long ago. But Sam Darnold is still not 30 yet, right? He's
27.
He was so young when he came out.
Yeah.
That just isn't going to happen now. Nowadays, all the quarterbacks are 23 and 25, and Darnold was super young when he got to the draft.
Okay, I'm being naive here, but what's the upside of JJ McCarthy? It's not. I feel like Darnold as a prospect has more upside than JJ McCarthy. I know they spent a top 10 pick on JJ McCarthy, but if I'm the Vikings, I'll say it right now. I signed Sam Darnold. I know you can tag him, and that's probably what's going to happen. But I'd commit to Darnold because I think Darnold's more mobile than McCarthy. Well, he's not more mobile, but he's just if you put those two guys in the draft, who would you take? Just based on pure skill. I mean, obviously,
it's not fair. Sam Darnold has been in the league now for 7 years. 6
well, no,
years.
no. But I mean,
McCarthy
no.
hasn't
Say
played
they
a
were
snap.
the same age and the same prospects. Darnold's bigger. He's got a bigger arm. He's almost as fast. He's physically, Sam Darnold can do it all. And JJ McCarthy is good, but he's not overwhelming. So I think that Sam Darnold might be the long-term answer there.
Yeah, I think that's really hard to do. Well,
it's just JJ McCarthy is what's his deal? He's just the most cerebral, professional. I don't even know what's awesome about JJ McCarthy.
Here's the thing, though. I understand where Paul Allen's coming from, that no one in the building wants to talk about what is going to be laying here at the end of the season. But to be honest, this is it's either going to be an amazing opportunity for the Vikings. This is not all a negative. Either you can tag Darnold and trade him, you can get assets for him, or you could end up shopping JJ McCarthy if you don't think that he's the future, and you could his stock is still going to be high. I'm sure other teams were scouting him, and there's no quarterbacks basically in this draft. So I don't know why it's looked at as such a negative. It's only a negative if you botch it. If you maximize this opportunity, and if Darnold is the real thing and you go with him, and then you maximize JJ McCarthy as a backup or as a trade piece, this is not necessarily negative to talk about what the future holds.
Well, it's negative in the sense that you are going to have to make a tough decision on one of these two guys.
Right, but that's the job. That's why the general manager exists.
It'd be negative if they commit to Sam Darnold. That means you blew a top 10 pick. And if you commit to JJ McCarthy, that means you're taking a gigantic risk by letting a Pro Bowl quarterback walk.
Coming up, guys getting a little too honest as the season is ending. And Nick Kostos joins us later in the hour to win you some money. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
He is pure joy, he can't hide.
Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio. Can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home. His heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembyama, Perloff took the fall. But it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake. For goodness sake. Bogusch counting the minutes, ticking like a clock, while Perloff's cruising highways, Hilarion talk. San Antonio shining, the city's calling their names. Bogusch sitting home, stuck playing life's cruel games. Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Oh, man.
This was the #1 song the year I was born.
Can I just say something funny? Like, there's this promo that made the rounds on social media over the last week where CBS's Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are saying Gen Z things. And I think, Maggie, you're just like, oh, like this thing. And I think you're on the wrong gen. I think you're a couple gens back on the new hip phrases.
All right. Well, that was said in confidence, but now that it's made it onto the air.
By the way, I think that I am the expert in the room, and Andrew Bogusch, because we have 14-year-old kids.
Right. You said, so instead of Jim Nantz saying, hello, friends, I said, did he go, what up, peeps? And you go, no, something from this century.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, okay. So did he say, hey, fam? What else would it be?
Well, that would be good if we get a time machine back to 2013.
Then come up with what did he actually say? I didn't see
I don't know. Again, I don't know.
What's hello friends for Gen Z?
I am weak, Tony. I can already feel the aura. L's in the chat for anyone who's not watching. What does that mean?
But Manny, in real life, you're the youngest person on the show, you and EJ. What's Gen Z hello friends?
What it do? What's up? I don't know. It's just, hey.
Thanks for nothing, Manny.
Facts, Jimbo.
That one I know.
What it do?
Loki.
What it do?
Fire.
Okay, I'm here in big trouble. I'm going to get in big trouble. And if it's something dirty, I totally apologize.
Hey, don't wonder. Don't spell anything, Perloff.
Everyone be quiet. Shh.
Well, what's the deal with demure? Like that's like a big word. Is that?
No, you're right. No, you're right. I'm trying to figure.
That's not dirty, right?
No, it's just very curtsy, very demure.
Yeah. Okay. What is that?
Yeah. Demure means understated.
Why are 12-year-olds using it like it's like the number one word? That like my daughter says it all the time, and
it came from like a TikTok.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Very demure, very classy.
Very demure app.
Yeah.
So that's like it. And then she has all sorts of weird vocab words that come out of nowhere. It's like, and it's like a TikTok word.
Wait, have you thought your daughter was saying some sexual innuendo for
No,
like,
but I know. Like, I saw the New York Times.
weekend?
I saw the New York Times said like that's the buzzword of the year, demure. And I was
Facts.
like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Fire.
Yeah, whenever the New York Times gets to their list of new words, you know that is at least 3 years past due. But what up, peeps is definitely. I mean, when I was like, hey, that new jacket you got, EJ, that's the bomb.
Hello, friends.
Wait, what game are Nance and Romo calling this weekend? I'm assuming Steelers.
They get one of the Saturdays. Yeah.
No, the Saturday games are on ESPN.
Aha.
So
that's actually a massive W.
How about Denver Chiefs, maybe?
I think that's actually right. I think I heard somebody in the newsroom complaining about that yesterday.
This was a playoff commercial, though. I saw the actual commercial run. They have a version of this that's not just the video. It's pretty funny.
Broncos Chiefs, by the way.
If he does start the broadcast with "What it do," I'll give endless props to Jim Nantz for the rest of the time.
This game is going to be far from mid.
Unlike the Sixers' big three.
Facts.
The mid three.
All right, folks, headlines.
Oh, great. Headlines are sponsored by GoodRx. For simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, go to goodrx.com or download the free GoodRx app. None of the 5 conference champs reached the CFP Final Four, with Georgia losing to Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl yesterday, 23-10. The Bulldogs making it teams with first-round byes 0 for 4, but Irish head coach Marcus Freeman doesn't believe playing in round 1 was an advantage.
The first game had nothing to do with this game. It was the preparation that they put into this week in this game and the performance that they put on.
Freeman's team was locked in a 3-3 battle until the final moments of the second quarter. Notre Dame kicking a field goal, then a strip sack of Georgia replacement QB Gunnar Stockton, which led to this.
Shotgun for Leonard. Takes the snap. Play fake. Looking. Firing. End zone. Touchdown. Bo Collins makes the catch. And Notre Dame extends the lead. 27 seconds left. And the defense gets it paid off by the offense.
That's from Notre Dame radio. The Irish weren't done either, returning the second half kickoff 97 yards for points, giving them 17 points over 54 seconds of game time. All of a sudden, it was 23. It ended 23-10. Notre Dame getting its first major bowl win since the 94 Cotton Bowl. Up next is Penn State in Miami on Thursday night. The Georgia season, meanwhile, ends just 62 rushing yards, 2 for 15 on 3rd and 4th downs. There was another bowl game yesterday, the Gator Bowl, shifting to an 8 Eastern kickoff to accommodate the delayed Sugar Bowl. Ole Miss put a 52-20 thumping on Duke in Jacksonville. Rebs QB Jackson Dart ending his college career with 404 yards and 4 scores. Yesterday, the Jets interviewed Ron Rivera for their head coaching job and Louis Riddick for their GM vacancy. Today, Mike Vrabel get to chat about Robert Saleh's old job. No matter how big or small that Sixers 3 is, it did not matter last night in San Francisco.
Curry waits, pulls up, heat check, bank it in! The Bank of San Francisco has nighttime hours. It's 89-68 Warriors.
Waka Waka, Tim Roy, Warriors Radio. Curry with 30, hitting all 8 threes he took for a 139-105 decision. The Sixers losing for the second straight night, despite having Embiid, George, and Maxey on the floor together. The Thunder won their team record 13th in a row, 116-98 over the Clippers. Max Christie, a career-high 28 as the Lakers down the Blazers 114-106, and Jason Tatum scored 33 in the Celtics 118-115 win in Minnesota. Men's number 20, Purdue, an 81-61 win at Minnesota. Braden Smith, 20 points, 10 assists, and the New York Rangers got their first home win since December 6th, 2-1 over the Bruins. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Coming up next, Nick Kostos is going to join us from You Better You Bet. Let's make some money this weekend, y'all.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Got a couple poll questions that you can vote on at Maggie and Pearl on X. First one, is Notre Dame football now likable? Holding strong, 56% of you now say yes, Notre Dame football is likable. For a long time, Notre Dame was really either love them or love to root against them.
Yeah.
Can Notre Dame win the national title? 66% are saying yes, they can win the national title. Did we also do the should that guy have been scapegoated last night? The Parker Jones, a walk-on that you certainly do not need to know, interfered with the referee yesterday as Georgia had one of its biggest explosive plays of the game. Georgia lost, by the way. Notre Dame wins. They go on to the Final Four, Perloff. But should they have come back around to put the camera on him at the end of the game when his gaffe happened early in the second quarter?
Do you think it'd be good for college football if Notre Dame wins like the title like 19-12 in a game like this, or like the Arizona State Texas game, like if it's a special team fumble fest, like do they need somebody to play some offense here? If Notre Dame wins a national title like 19-14, which is how they win, is that going to be like, I don't know, is that going to feel a little flat, or is it just Notre Dame's brand so big? I just feel like the quality of football in the college football playoff obviously has not been great. And I wonder, like, if anybody cares, or has it all been, like, good?
I think Notre Dame's brand is so big that it probably transcends. Any win would probably be considered landmark. I mean, listen, we're old enough to remember a national championship between Alabama and LSU. I think the final score was 6-3, wasn't it? Or 9-6? That was supposed to be the game of the century.
Yeah, and then the sport was saved by the spread.
Let's get to our buddy Nick Kostos, the host of You Better You Bet. Nick, Happy New Year. I can't imagine you're a big resolution guy.
Well, no, you try and live your life a certain way all the time. So you don't need a resolution when the new year starts. I believe in that LSU-Alabama game. LSU, I don't think crossed midfield once in that game against Alabama, the game that you guys were just referencing, or maybe one time.
Yeah.
Not the best college football game ever.
It's like we act like this year, because there's been blowouts, is the first time that, college football has ever disappointed us. And to be honest, I actually think that listen, some of the games have not been that awesome. Texas, Arizona State was fantastic, in my opinion. Super exciting. But this is sports. It's unscripted for a reason. You never know. And listen, Georgia wasn't the typical Georgia this year. What did we expect?
Yeah, and I think with the way the games are lining up in the next round, I think both games have the potential to be really good. Now, Ohio State's a pretty big favorite over Texas, I think deservedly so, but I think reasonable minds can disagree. I like Ohio State in the game, but I mean, why can't Texas keep that game close with the quality of Texas's defense? And then the Notre Dame Penn State point spread. Notre Dame a 1.5 point favorite in that game. Betting market says the game's going to be close, and maybe the game would have been closer last night with Georgia and Notre Dame if Carson Beck had played, but I do think this is setting up for potentially a really nice end to the college football season. But look, Maggie, I agree with you 100%. Like you said, this is just sports. It happens sometimes. I don't look at this as any large-scale referendum like, oh, well, now we need to change things. If I were to change things, I would say we need more teams. I want more games.
Yeah. Well,
more fun, more things to watch, more things to bet on.
But they are going to change. They're definitely going to change the seeding. Like that Boise State and Arizona State being 3-4. That's not going to happen again. And here's the question that everyone's talking about. Is the bye a problem? Because all the teams with the extra times came out totally flat.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's 1 year, so it's kind of difficult to say, like, with certainty that this is going to be a thing moving forward. But, I mean, I don't think it's great. Also, if you're Oregon, I think there's a strong case to be made if you're the Ducks that there has never been a 1 seed in the history of 1 seeds in anything in life has gotten jobbed worse than Oregon did, having to play like the best team in the country in their first game. So, I mean, maybe if you change the way seeding works and you get some of these curtain jerking jabroni teams that play in the first round as opposed to getting a bye, then maybe it makes it easier for the teams with the bye to be able to advance. But I think we are way too early in this process to declare the bye a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Now, this happens another 5 years in a row. Maybe you can say that.
Or that, like, it's broken already. It's like we barely know what's going on. Nick Kostos is the host of You Better You Bet. All right, from the betting angles on this, Nick, early look ahead. So you like Ohio State, you said you would lay the 6. At least I'm seeing 6 right now. And you like who in Notre Dame, Penn State? I'm seeing 1.5 and convert. And also, how else would you bet these 2 games if you're betting them?
Yeah, I think Ohio State's going to win the national championship. And I don't even know. I guess people could make a case for somebody else. I don't really know like what the case would be. I will give a really, really nerdy analogy here. I'm a massive nerd. It's a nerdy analogy. Ohio State to me feels like Keanu Reeves at the end of The Matrix, and now he knows he's Neo. And he sees everything in code, and he just destroys everybody. It's like it took Ohio State losing to Michigan for Chip Kelly and Ryan Day to realize, no, we are actually Neo. We're the best team. We're going to start playing like it, and we're going to start coaching like it. I mean, I don't think we can discount what Ohio State's done in these first 2 college football playoff games. Tennessee does not stink at all. Tennessee's an awesome team. Ohio State obliterated them and then absolutely eviscerated Oregon, which was the consensus #1 team in the country in the Rose Bowl. So that's back-to-back data points of not just beating good teams, beating the brakes off of good teams. And now here comes Texas, who, and I'll say this, I do think Texas is back. Shout out to Sam Ehlinger. They've made the Final Four in consecutive years. Like, you can't bag on Texas and say Texas isn't back. But, I mean, should have lost to Arizona State, or at the very least, there was no reason for the game to be as close as it was. Terrible defensive play call on 4th and 13, or Arizona State's the sacrificial lamb for Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. I have a hard time thinking that Texas is going to keep this game within shouting distance. I do like Ohio State, and I'm going to end up betting Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl against Penn State. I think Notre Dame is flat out better. I still have questions about James Franklin. I mean, you want to talk about Penn State, like compare and contrast Penn State's pass with Oregon. Penn State, a double bye to the semifinal, SMU and Boise State. And, I've bagged on Marcus Freeman, guys, for a long time. Marcus Freeman coached Kirby Smart under the table last night. Super impressive. I think Notre Dame wins against Penn State. Ohio State wins against Texas. And we get Ohio State, Notre Dame, in what should be a pretty awesome national title game. And I'll take the Buckeyes.
I don't think you need to be Neo to figure out to throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Did you look back like me and say, like, how did Ohio State not do this against Michigan? And Maggie brought up earlier in the show, do you think that it's possible that Ohio State could lay an egg again? Like, because you never know in college football. Is it possible that Chip Kelly and Ryan Day just lose their mind again and run the ball into the line or something?
So is it possible? Like all things are possible. Yeah. I would say that it's unlikely. And in betting, you deal with probabilities, right? I would say that the probability is that they are not going to be totally brain dead moving forward. But to your point, we did see it happen against Michigan, and maybe that's just you outsmart yourselves a little bit. You want to prove a point. Now there are no more points to prove. Like the point to prove now is that you're the best team. I think they do that. It is worth noting that this spread touched 7 at open after the Rose Bowl, and that was where there was some resistance towards Texas. So this is not like Ohio State's going to get bet into oblivion here. There are going to be people that are going to support Texas in the betting market. I do think Ohio State wins by 7 or more. I feel very confident in Ohio State also winning the game.
What about the under Notre Dame Penn State?
So where are we at right now?
Yeah.
Where's that been bet to at this point? Let me I want to give you an updated number because I haven't checked since early this morning. So we are at 46.5. It feels like the total's a little bit bigger than you would think, right?
It feels like that game will be played in a phone booth, as they say.
Yeah, which kind of, I don't really have a strong opinion there. I do think that Notre Dame potentially has a quarterback problem. Now, it may not matter because the team's really good. But, Penn State does have the better quarterback in this game with Aller versus Riley Leonard. Just that I think Notre Dame's team is better than Penn State's team. And maybe Notre Dame runs it down Penn State's throat in a way that Boise State couldn't. I would bet the under if I had to bet it right now with Notre Dame and Penn State. I think this is like a 23-16 type win for Notre Dame.
Nick Kostos is the host of You Better You Bet. He joins us every Friday. Let's get to the NFL, Nick, and let's start with the most important game of the weekend, and that's for the number 1 seed in the NFC. It's the Vikings and the Lions. Detroit, a 2.5-point favorite at home is what I'm seeing, total at 55.5. How do you bet this game?
Yeah, so I think 2.5 is the right point spread of the game. If anyone's wondering, well, what's the difference, 2.5 and 3? Well, it's a huge difference. Lions by 3 is probably the most likely outcome. So if you like Minnesota, please bet +3. If you like Detroit, lay -2.5. I like Detroit in the game, but I acknowledged on Tuesday on my show that I am biased because I'm obsessed with Dan Campbell. And I know Perloff, who is kind of, Perloff's got the pocket protector, pencil neck geek, and all that. But he's a ham and egger. He doesn't like Dan Campbell. He wants to take the points. He wants to send out the punting unit. That's what he wants to sit the starters, I'm sure. That's what Perloff wants to do.
I don't
love me, though.
Fake stumble. Don't give me a fake stumble, Nick.
I love me some Dan Campbell. So I am biased towards the Lions. The thing that scares me, and should scare anyone that likes the Lions in this game, and the Lions to get to or win the Super Bowl, the pass defense is as bad as you could possibly imagine. So I think the Lions know what their avenue to victory is, and they've kind of telegraphed that. They've shown you the last couple of weeks. They are not winning games, guys, in a phone booth. Like, they can't win 17-14. They can't. If they score 17 points, they lose because they are giving up more than 17. So I ask myself, and I would encourage you guys to ask yourself this question, listeners, viewers, what's the minimum number of points the Vikings score in this game? On the Lions. What's the minimum number that Minnesota scores?
24?
Yeah, 27, 24, something like that.
Oh, I would, it's only a field goal difference. I would lean more with 27 than 24. So then you're going to need the Lions to score 30 points in this game, minimum, to win the game. Now, are they capable of doing that? Definitely. And we've seen Ben Johnson has kind of outsmarted Brian Flores in a lot of these head-to-head matchups. So here's where the game's going to be won or lost, and it's what makes it a difficult game to bet. Because we know Dan Campbell's going to have a couple of these aggressive decisions, right? They're going to go for it on some 4th downs. They're going to go for it on 4th and goal in lieu of kicking a field goal. If they score touchdowns, the game's going to go over the total and they're going to win. If they don't get them, the game's probably going to go under the total and the Vikings are going to win. So that's why I think 3 is a valuable bet with Minnesota. My rooting interest, candidly, and this is not a betting take. I love Detroit. I love Dan Campbell. I want the Lions to win as a fan. So I think the Lions are going to win, but I'm biased. I actually think Minnesota +3 is probably like the best bet to make in the game.
Perfect.
Nick, we're running a little short on time. The incentives in Week 18 has been a big storyline. Like, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, I got to bet these incentives. Mike Evans needs 85 yards to get a $3 million bonus, keep his 1,000-yard streak. His over-under for total receiving yards is 99.5 right now. I just looked it up. How do you view these incentives, and will teams feed players who have money on the line?
So we've seen that. The answer to that question is largely yes. This is like anything where, if we are talking about it on a talk show on Friday, then for everyone out there listening and watching, so if we're talking about this on a Friday, don't you think like bettors know? So like all of this stuff, like like Perloff, you said it.
Yeah.
If Mike Evans' receiving yards prop is 99.5, that's, I would say, somewhere in the range of, without knowing the exact answer, but I feel comfortable in the range I'm going to give, 10 to 15 yards higher than it's been in any other game this season. So you're paying a premium to make these bets. It doesn't mean the bets can't win, but if you're showing up on Sunday, like this Sunday, to say, oh, well, X running back needs 120 yards to get his, to get $1 million, everybody knows already. It's already been bet. All the value's gone, which again, doesn't mean the bet can't win, but just know going in, if you know, chances are other people do also.
Nick, we ask you every week for your upset pick of the week. I know.
There's a lot of them this week, potentially.
What do you got for us?
Okay, you want me to give you a bunch?
Yeah, go ahead. You have a minute.
Because it's week 18, and week 18 is like the preseason sometimes. So tremendous betting opportunities potentially in these games. So a couple potential upset picks. Let's go to Jacksonville, Indianapolis, where the Colts are dead team walking. If you played for the Colts and you still have a pulse and you no longer play for them, you have insulted them in some way this week or have gone on record or off record insulting them to the media. Because that is a rudderless team. Shane Steichen's a clown. Chris Ballard's a terrible GM. Maybe they win. I'll bet against them. I'll bet the Jaguars just to win the game. Jacksonville to win on the road in Indianapolis. Let's also go to... the Texans are plus 100 on the money line at the Titans when D'Amico Ryans has said the starters are going to play for some period of time, and then Davis Mills comes in. He's not a terrible backup. Houston to win on the road at Tennessee. That's even money right now at BetMGM. San Francisco is starting Josh Dobbs on Sunday, not Brandon Allen. Josh Dobbs is very competent. We saw that last year. Arizona circling the drain with Kyler Murray as the franchise quarterback. Why can't the Niners win? San Francisco plus 165. I'll take Kansas City plus 400 to beat Denver. Denver's a 10.5-point favorite. Carson Wentz is he's not great. He's not bad. Last year in week 18 for the Rams, he outdueled the quarterback everybody might have heard of named Sam Darnold from the San Francisco 49ers. So
Nick,
Chiefs plus 10.5.
That's where we got to leave it. You're the best. Thank you so much. You want to give your spiel?
Yeah, sorry. I went over the time. Wishing everybody minimal sweats when he bets the absolute very best of luck. Happy New Year.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Leonard takes another knee. Clock says 30 seconds. Both teams onto the field. The Irish have done it. They win the Sugar Bowl, and they're on their way to Miami. A date with Penn State. The winner will play for the national championship. And Marcus Freeman in year 3 has his signature win.
Notre Dame Radio Network, and look at that. All of a sudden, Notre Dame's become likable again. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It's like a sea change here for the Irish. I think Marcus Freeman, easy guy to root for, Pearl. Not that Brian Kelly wasn't easy to root for.
I'm having trouble getting
Freeman,
on board.
A little bit different, yeah.
The team's so boring, though. I mean, they're so boring.
Okay, but what they may lack in downfield passing and, explosive plays, they make up for in fun trick plays on special teams. How about lining up like you're going to punt the ball and then doing a full 11-man substitution and instead drawing Georgia off sides? Yeah. And that was just one of the ways that Notre Dame won on the margins last night. Yeah. They beat the Bulldogs. They're going to the semifinal.
I just don't. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around them because I don't even really know what happened last night. As with most of these college games, it's like, yeah, Notre Dame won, but were they impressive? Like defensively, heck yeah,
definitely.
But their offense was so limited. It's just so bizarre that you could get to the Final Four and not have 100 yards passing and not really have. You didn't really have any running except for your quarterback either. Like, they just did nothing last night, and they were in control of the whole game.
Well, I think that Marcus Freeman had the game plan here because you notice they never got away from it. Even when they had opportunities, when you had a second and short, when times when you would make a big play, go for an explosive, something like that, they just kept running the ball with Riley Leonard, the quarterback. Yeah. And sometimes, they also had the kick return for a touchdown to start the second half. They capitalized before the first half ended when they had a strip sack fumble of Gunnar Stockton and set them up right at the 12-yard line and scored one play later. So what they had a lot of penalties, so I can't necessarily say they played a totally clean game, but they just played a pretty straightforward game outside of that special team sort of trick play.
Wow, that's exciting, man. It's straightforward. Let's go.
They won.
Straightforward.
This is the biggest bowl game that Notre Dame has won in 31 years. They don't care how they win.
Well, and again, I refuse to call this a bowl game. I just will not do it. Technically, it's a bowl game, but it's a playoff. It's just we were talking
the biggest
about
game they've won.
Yeah, biggest game they won. The funny thing too is this is we're seeing the fruits of the 12-team playoff because I don't think the way it landed at the end, Notre Dame wouldn't have made the Final Four, so they wouldn't even be here in last year's format. They were fifth. Penn State would have gotten presumably the fourth spot. So again, I think we're getting into NCAA basketball. It feels like anything could happen on any of these games. And last night was a big anything could happen game. There were strange calls, strange bounces. There was a walk-on interfering with an official.
Yep.
There was a blown call against Notre Dame that hurt them. There was, it was all sorts of, just like the Arizona State Texas game. It's just become like a real random bounce of the ball kind of playoffs. You really don't know what's going to happen week to week at all.
I get that.
Yeah.
And I know we've had more blowouts than close games so far in this playoff. But to be honest, I thought you looked at Georgia and they were vulnerable all year.
And they had a backup
Georgia
quarterback.
team
Yeah.
had a backup quarterback. I know they won the SEC championship, so it's weird to say that this is not the standard we're used to with Georgia, but it wasn't. They were a team that was up and down because of shaky quarterback play, injuries along the offensive line. It was not full and utter domination like we've seen from some Georgia teams. Now, I still thought they were going to win the game, but listen, Notre Dame took it to them. And Nick Kostos joined us in the last segment. I agree with him. I do think Marcus Freeman outcoached Kirby Smart also. And here's the thing about the playoff so far. Yeah, again, we've had blowouts. Maybe it hasn't been, everyone's been a barn burner. But in the old system, Perloff, we never get Arizona State in Texas. We never get that great game because Arizona would be playing some bowl game against some SEC team that probably half the team sits.
Yeah, I'm totally for it. I like it. Just realize what you're going to grow it too. It's 12 for now. You're getting into, it's going to be much more like the basketball tournament where you're going to have upsets. And it's good. And NIL has also created this crazy amount of parity that we haven't seen in 100 years in college football. The one thing I don't think, yes, Marcus Freeman did outcoach him, especially on special teams, but make no mistake, this Georgia team, talent-wise, does not even closely resemble the team from 3 years ago.
Definitely not.
Especially the receivers just outright stink. It was a backup
dropping
quarterback.
Passes.
The defense was actually somewhat hot and cold this year, which is unusual. They used to be just dominant. They couldn't Notre Dame. We saw with all the Notre Dame has a ton of NFL guys who are just killing them. Georgia didn't seem to be able to get their NFL guys going. I would have pressured Riley Leonard I would have just blitzed 10 guys. Remember, there were some drives where they really got aggressive on defense and it worked. So in that sense, I'm not sure what Smart should have done differently, but he didn't have the answers last night. I agree with you.
But there were bad penalties on their side. They couldn't pick up a 4th and 2. Okay, when can a Georgia team not pick up a 4th and 2?
Huge. The 2 4th downs were huge. Notre Dame missed a couple 4th downs as well.
No doubt. And meanwhile, here's the thing about the college football playoff. Yes, I know the SEC. This is not the showing they were probably expecting, right? Because the only representative they have in this Final Four is a team that was actually playing in the Big 12 about a year and a half ago, and that's Texas. And Texas, though, playing Ohio State and Notre Dame playing Penn State, does it get any bluer blood than this? All that said, Boise, Arizona State, Indiana, these non-traditional, if you will, powerhouses, although we've seen teams have success. It's coming down to the bluest of the blue bloods in this Final Four.
But obviously, we haven't seen Penn State when's the last time we saw Penn State in a title game?
Was it the 80s?
Oh, 90.
No, 97, did they say? I forgot. Anyway,
it's blue, but and also too, it's definitely not. The 10 years of the Final Four, there was not a lot of Penn State, Texas, Notre Dame, and
Right, Clemson. But like maybe you just needed to give a little bit of a chance because this is like the point I'm making while I'm bringing up these blue blood things is that for everyone wants to so quick, we got to change the format. We've got to change this. And I get it. If I'm an Oregon Ducks fan, I'm screaming from the hilltops too. We had the number 1 seed. Congrats, you get to play Ohio State. But what did we ultimately get here? We got 4 teams that all it's not a shock to see any of them playing for a national title this year. They were all ranked in the top 6.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be pretty surprising to see Penn State playing in the national title because of James Franklin's difficult pass. But let me say, I do think 16 would have even been better because you look at the teams that just missed.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama. Maybe Alabama were good, and Miami. I think Miami's defense is terrible. But I watched this fight. I think Miami could have competed with a lot of these teams and been very interesting. So I think you could go. It's funny the way it laid out this year. The next 4 teams would have been very competitive in this field because you never know. It's really interesting to me how much parity there is, and you're seeing it play out now a little bit. I know there were blowouts early.
Yeah.
The other thing, like there a lot of people are saying, that Oregon should have gotten a home game, like things like that. Like they can tweak this format even more. That you shouldn't have the automatic bids at 3 and 4. Like I think they kind of screwed over Oregon. They can fix that. We're going to see a lot of. I think there are going to be changes next year, format wise.
Probably. There was a friend of the show, Master Testifion. I hope I got his last name right. Love Master, great writer, does phenomenal job. Bleacher Report, The Ringer. He's written for a lot of places, and he's great. He had a good suggestion last night on social media. I want to give him credit for it, but I don't know if it will happen. It's like one of those perfect world things, which is that the quarterfinals, which is the round we just got through with, should also be on the campus of the higher seed. So how we got all that great imagery of, Tennessee going to Ohio State and SMU having to go to Penn State. For the teams that got the bye, they should also be able to host a playoff game. Now, we kind of know this, that the bowl system, I know you don't count this as technically a bowl, but the Sugar Bowl did run that game last night, right? The Fiesta Bowl. Right. All these bowls want theirs. And I think they want to have them at these neutral fields. So again, I don't know how pie in the sky this idea is, but that sounds pretty cool. If you were Oregon, you should have gotten that game on your home field. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, totally.
But I think the bowl industrial complex is not going to allow it to happen.
Well, things are changing at such a rapid pace in college football. Who knows if they're going to have any power in 2, 3, 4 years? And, obviously the SEC has the most power. Like, if it's one thing that Oregon didn't get it, I mean, if Alabama had lost out on a home game, maybe they could exert more pressure. Yeah, that's what I said. I think like major changes are coming. I think they're going to totally revamp this format next year. And then 2 years, oh God, who knows what's going to happen, because isn't it sort of like an interim 2-year plan here with the 12 team? I think they're definitely going 16. Let's just start there. And you might as well, because you have so much parity in college football right now that you could get some really good teams. Now, also too, I love Boise. I love SMU.
Yeah.
I just think something like they should not have been 3 and 4. That didn't help them.
Okay.
It didn't help anybody.
I get it, but they made a big deal about being your conference champion.
Yeah, they did make a big deal. I think they could just, like many things that have happened over the last 5 years in college football, just forget it, move on, come back to reality. I know they made a big deal of it, but let's face it, why not change it?
Okay, well, pull that thread. If not being a conference champion means anything anymore, then get ready for people to opt out of the conference championship game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, someone's probably making a lot of money off that conference championship game. And I doubt that person, those parties, whoever they are going to want to easily give up that cash cow.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, bowls have lost their power gradually over the last 25 years. Like, things change.
I know, but don't you feel like it came back a little bit this year? Because I think guys were playing like Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter because of NIL. And so if it's in your contract, hey, you've got to appear also in the bowl game, at least for a half, then I think that's what helped save the bowl games.
But I don't think those bowl games did very well this year because of the 12-team playoff. I don't think anybody cared or
I bet a lot of people watched that Michigan-Alabama game.
Yeah, but probably not as much as in years past. I think
that would be more than years past because Milroe played, and normally why would the quarterback ever play, especially one who literally just declared for the draft the next day?
I think like it hasn't been. This has been a recent trend. I think the non-Final Four bowl games. You think these Alabama Michigan was the one game that people probably watched, but generally, like there was a bowl game on last night. Like who would have watched that?
No, but it's more people are going to watch because Jackson Dart actually was playing in the game. You don't think anyone watched that Colorado game? To watch Shedeur and Travis?
Maybe Colorado. But generally, I'll bet you bowl games were way down because, the bowl games are definitely watered down by having the 12-team playoffs. I don't think the ratings were good on bowl games at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but, no, of course not.
Having the starting quarterbacks play has to help.
It's just following the social media last. Like, nobody cared about the Ole Miss Duke game last night. Like, that was just like, it felt like a preseason game at best. We totally disagree. Like, so you think the bowl games are up this year because of NIL? I think the bowl games are just so irrelevant in the 12-team playoff era.
For what it's worth, just on the Alamo Bowl this year was a record of 8 million viewers for that game.
Which one was that?
That was the BYU versus Colorado game we were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other games, but that was what that game was.
I watched that game because of now I'm a BYU fan.
BYU, I mean, you got to watch Shedeur. You got to watch Travis. These guys are must see. We asked you guys on social media, is Notre Dame football now likable? 57% of you are saying yes, they are now likable. And can Notre Dame win the national title? 66% of you are saying yes, they can win the national title. It wasn't like a pretty game last night, but in some ways, there was a bit of a beauty to it in that Notre Dame capitalized on the opportunities they were given against a really a powerhouse of a team. Yeah, it's not the Georgia team from a couple of years ago when 9 guys went to the NFL off that defense, but it's still a blue blood program that won the SEC. And when Notre Dame got the opportunity of a turnover, they scored a touchdown. Kickoff return, touchdown. When they need to bleed clock, quarterback running, getting first downs. Listen, that they won the game. And this is a formula for them to win the title. Penn State, as Nick Kostos said, as you said, feels like they got a double bye on the way to the semifinals. If no one sold on James Franklin, why not Notre Dame getting to the national championship game? And then now you're in the title game, and who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I like Ohio State. I think they have a lot of really big-time defensive players who can sort of challenge Riley Leonard physically. So I think Notre Dame would have to vary their offense against him. And now that the coaching staff got out of their coma.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've scored 42 points and 41 points against 2 really good teams.
Yeah. So it seems unrealistic. I think they're a big long shot, Notre Dame, to win that game. But you're right. I mean, anything could happen, but God, I don't feel like we're on the brink of a title with them. If the team I saw last night, I mean, they were quite dysfunctional on offense. Unless they were just like milking the clock, there was just no play where Riley Leonard got into a pocket and saw a receiver. There was maybe that one touchdown pass. That might have been the only effective pass I saw all night long.
I know.
And even they just couldn't break any runs. There was nothing happening.
I know, but you love to say that teams get a lead and sit on the lead. I mean, the defense for Notre Dame was so good last night that they didn't need a lot from the offense.
Then how did Georgia have that? It explains. How did Georgia have that drive at the beginning of the third quarter where everything was clicking? Then to Notre Dame's credit, they played keep away, but it was crazy. I'm like, why didn't Georgia make the whole plane out of that offense? And then they got the ball back at the 50. I'm like, okay, Notre Dame's getting a lot of penalties. They look a little nervous. They're getting tight. And Georgia just could not get it going. I think probably backup quarterback is a big deal. I'm very curious about this Penn State game. I really want to see how Notre Dame runs its offense. Are they just going to try the same thing, just run, or do you need more? Do you need more against probably a healthier team, probably a better? I mean, we don't know about Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
But I just think that Notre Dame can't just do what they did last night and beat Penn State, who knows what's coming, right? They have to mix it up a little bit. It's going to test Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman versus James Franklin, that is a fun matchup. I mean, I think we all give an edge to Freeman in this game.
No doubt. I mean, especially after the performance he put on last night, but in a historic matchup too. I saw this yesterday, EJ, and I think you even retweeted or tweeted it that whoever, obviously there's a winner of this game is going to be the first ever black head coach coaching for the national championship.
That's correct.
How is that possible in 2025?
Well, there hasn't been the same amount of advancement when it comes to racial diversity in college football as compared to the NFL, and the same thing in college basketball and the NBA. The pro leagues have been much faster than the colleges. So it's crazy because we've seen several black coaches coaching in Super Bowls now. So it's crazy, but yeah, we're guaranteed to have either Franklin or Freeman, first black head coach, coaching in national championship game.
Amazing. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including we got the number 1 seed for the NFC is on the line Sunday night, Minnesota and Detroit in the Motor City. But that's not the only game that is going to decide playoff seeding. We've got all the scenarios for you. We've got everything to get you set for this weekend, Saturday and Sunday in the NFL. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Andrew Bogusch is sitting here, and I just said something to break that I was laughing to myself about. I watched Michael Penix and Atlanta lose to Washington in like the game of while we were gone. An amazing primetime game. The fact that the New York Giants did take that game makes him did take that quarterback an utter laughingstock. That is one of the worst picks in 20 years to take Malik Neighbors over Michael Penix. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say that to you, Bogusch. And I think the Giants are going to screw it up again in this draft. And I just can't wait. I just love dunking on you for that.
Yeah,
team.
no, first of all, Happy New Year to you as well. The Giants have already messed this up. They won a game while we were gone.
I know.
The last time we were together, I said they're not going to win another game, and then they won the next game that they played, and now they no longer control their destiny.
Penix.
I hate them.
Yes, that was so funny. I mean, we live in New York, and just to watch the Giants fans mourn a victory, and they looked awesome in that win.
Well, Malik Neighbors took the game over.
Yeah, he was crazy good.
Penix looks really good.
He does. There's never been a moment like Malik Neighbors spinning free on that last touchdown and the entire stadium realizing he was going to score and basically ice the game. You could just hear everyone go, ugh. And then there were boos when he was celebrating the touchdown.
It should have been cake and ice cream for everyone for just showing up to that game. I mean, they're lucky fans showed up.
Yeah, but also shame on the Colts. I mean, let's not lose the you can't. There is no way that you can let that team look that good. A completely shameless effort by Indianapolis.
Oh, and there's a big expose now in The Athletic about how dysfunctional things are with the Colts. Turns out Anthony Richardson has a terrible back issue. Not something you want to hear about your 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
He's like, I could barely move. Everyone questioning his effort, his buy-in. I mean, it's a disaster over there.
Bogusch, if I tell you Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback, are not going to work out with the Giants, would you be surprised?
I
mean, they're not going to
I'd be surprised.
Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward goes there. They're winning 4 games next year. Do you
promise?
I just don't think this is not the right team for a quarterback. They should have taken Penix, McCarthy, or Nix.
Well, the crazy thing about Penix, though, is that nobody could have known about him. It's not like he wasn't playing in the national championship or anything. How did he sneak up on everybody? He only beat Oregon twice and played for the title.
We didn't like his facial structure either. So
you guys gave the Jets a hard time because Woody Johnson's teenage sons were making calls. Meanwhile, we saw in Hard Knocks that Joe Shane, the GM's son, said draft Jaden Daniels. That kid knew what was up. He's like take a quarterback, and his dad ignored him and took a wide receiver. And here we are with the Giants and
he couldn't take Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, but I think
his kid didn't say, "How about Bo Nix?"
His kid was adamant about quarterback, and he was smart, and he should be running that team. We all know teenagers in our life. They know way more sports. There's a 10-year-old kid my daughter knows who knows the lineup of every baseball team in the league.
Yeah, it's nice when you don't have real things in your mind.
Yeah.
I could do that too.
You have so much space for all that stuff. Yeah, you have so much space for batting averages.
Yeah,
now we got
family,
a lot going on.
Work.
8
Girls
million
haven't
passwords.
even started yet. What'd you say?
8 million passwords.
Password epidemic is just what's going to sink this country. Dork. Why aren't we talking more about the password epidemic and also cybersecurity at the same time? Bogusch has headlines.
And these ones are sponsored by GoodRx. For simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, go to goodrx.com or download the free GoodRx app. Deeper. defense is your thing, the Sugar Bowl was not for you. Neither Notre Dame nor Georgia broke 300 yards. They combined for 33 points, 17 of which came from the Irish over a 54-second span bridging halftime. Notre Dame QB Riley Leonard only threw for 90 yards, but he ran for 80, helping drag the Irish to a 23-10 victory. Obviously, we all wish nothing happened in New Orleans, and this game was played as scheduled Wednesday night, but delaying it overnight gave Leonard more time to get ready for the Bulldogs.
Our preparation and the character in our locker room, those are two intangible things that we have that we utilize. So to have an extra day, after we got done praying for all the families, I hit up my quarterback coach and said, all right, can we watch some film tonight?
Leonard's lone touchdown pass came when ND was scoring those 17 points across halftime. They went field goal, strip sack, touchdown pass, intermission, 97-yard kick return touchdown. The defense held Georgia 2 for 13 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth. So their search for their first national title since '88 continues against Penn State in Miami Thursday night. The other CFP semifinal, Texas-Ohio State, is next Friday in Dallas. The Jets are expected to interview Mike Vrabel for their head coaching job today. They spent yesterday with Ron Rivera, as well as interviewing ESPN's Louis Riddick for their GM vacancy. The Lakers won last night, 114-106, with LeBron scoring 38, but his podcast co-host, JJ Redick, took an L courtesy of Charles Barkley. The Laker coach recently took a veiled shot at the Inside the NBA crew, saying their negativity about the NBA doesn't help the NBA. Barkley's response came last night.
JJ, you come for the king, you better not miss. Because I can get you, brother, because I got your Lakers games. You can't hide them flaws they got. You just a dead man walking. They got rid of Frank Vogel, who did a good job. They got rid of Darvingham, who did a good job. But you came out there thinking you were going to change things with that same ugly girl you went on the date with.
64-51 was your halftime score. As we get back to the highlights, and Rudy Gobert.
No, he came in there thinking, I can make this thing work. Hell, you can.
77,
Put some makeup on that pig.
Man, the Lakers are pigs.
The Lakers stink, man.
Oh, man, okay.
Come on, man.
Tatum, by the way, had 33 with some makeup.
Oh, poor Ernie. The Celtics beat the Timberwolves. He was trying to tell you.
Rudy Gobert's worked in a long time. That interjection was lifting a lot.
Promise you, Rudy Gobert. What a rebound.
Back to the highlights. Rudy Gobert. No, that's amazing.
Rudy Gobert scored 50 points in that highlight.
I mean, let's all come clean. Do you guys think inside the NBA hurts the league?
A little bit.
By being so negative?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think the exact opposite. Inside the NBA is the only thing I care about.
But they do have some big old women.
Because ESPN is cheerleading, and that does nothing for the product. I think ESPN kills the product. Like their studio shows, and it's not the host fault, are so bad that like it makes the whole product hard to watch for me. I love when games are on TNT. They feel much better.
So TNT, just a little pull behind the curtain. They're dealing in a different type of thing. Like the guys on Inside the NBA have all the time in the world to really expound on things, joke around. They just have the benefit of time post-game, whereas ESPN is quick, fast, get to SportsCenter. Yeah. They are just dealing, it's a different master that they're facing.
Also, too, just like
1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, back to 1.
People respond to authentic and honest. People do not respond to ESPN anymore. Like that's, I mean, obviously, like I don't think it hurts the league. I think it's entertaining. You know, people want entertainment.
To be fair, though, there's times when ESPN can get critical. I see Kendrick Perkins getting critical about guys. Richard Jefferson will get critical on guys. It's not about that. I think Inside the NBA just has such the gravitas. To me, is it more that I just don't understand. Here's what I think needs to change. The guys are joking around at their expense, the Shaqtin' a Fool and all that stuff. They used to go after JaVale McGee, and he would be so sensitive about it. And I get it, and he would hate it.
I'm going to knock your ass out.
The problem is the current players aren't in on the joke, right? No one's telling them that inside the NBA in a lot of ways, I think, is a wink and a nod. Like, hey, we're all joking around here, but the players take it seriously and don't have fun back with the Shaq and Kenny and those guys. The players today have the last laugh. They're making way more money than any of these guys ever made. Yet they think it's like a lot more serious, these criticisms, than I think that they are. I think everyone could have a fun time with this if the players would lighten up.
I mean, to some degree, I guess. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think them saying Kevin Durant's a bus driver was joking. I think that's how they feel. I don't think
But that's years after years of Durant being sensitive about this. Durant's the most sensitive of anybody.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying I do think, and some of the shots that Shaq takes at Dwight Howard definitely were not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that these guys do get personal, to be fair. I feel like, to me, for maybe like, I'm an NBA lifer, right?
Yeah.
This is what I live and die with. I don't think they add much in terms of learning anything about the game or giving me any insight. Are they entertaining? Sure.
Right.
But does it get over the top when every time it's like, oh, this game sucks?
Yeah.
Or, oh, they're taking too many threes, especially when some of the opinions are just like silly. Like Shaq saying that he turned off a Wembanyama game because he saw him take a three and not post up. It's just a silly thing to say.
Right. But I ask you this, and that's fair, totally fair criticism, but I ask you, what is the purpose of that show? Is it to educate or is it to entertain?
I don't think it's entertaining to say that Wembanyama, I turned the game off.
Right,
He's the most exciting player in the NBA.
Right, but it is the most entertaining show.
I heard a lot of fans have the same problem with Wemby. It's like, oh man, he just stands outside. They want to see him like
Wembanyama was the best thing that happened on Christmas Day, and there were 2 NFL games and Beyonce.
Well,
okay,
yeah.
Like he was the most exciting thing. Like to see you have a new face of the league, and you have your guys on your network regularly talking about how he's not playing the right way. There's no way that's helpful.
But I think they speak for the fans sometimes. You know, like I get it. Wemby is not fully realized yet. He's got to win, and then he'll become like so watchable. But anyway, I don't know. I don't like. So you like ESPN's broadcast?
Absolutely not. They are way worse than Inside the NBA. Let me be very clear.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm saying that. Do I think that Inside the NBA does not help, and that some of their critiques are hurtful? Absolutely. I think JJ Redick is right about that. Do I think they're affecting ratings? I don't know. But when you have a ratings drought and you have the number one show saying these games suck and everybody, the way they play sucks, there's no way that's helpful. No way.
Victoria, definitely a secret.
The weird thing about the NBA is, there's a ratings drought, but they just got paid billions and billions of dollars for multiple networks bid to carry their game. So it's definitely still valuable. Anyway, Bogusch, back to you.
Other action last night, the Thunder dropped the Clippers 116-98 for a team record 13th straight win, and the Pacers won in Miami 128-115. Tyrese Halliburton, 33 points and 15 assists. A top 25 men's college basketball matchup last night in Eugene. Number 22 Illinois scoring 64 second-half points to rout 9th-ranked Oregon 109-77. And the Washington Capitals did not win last night, but Alex Ovechkin scored again.
Here is Ovechkin shooting. He scores! It's a power play goal for Alex Ovechkin. His 18th of the year. Goal 871 of his career. It's tied 2-2.
John Walton on Caps Radio. Minnesota eventually got a 4-3 win after a shootout, but Ovi with his third goal in 4 games since returning from that broken leg. He's now on 871. As you heard, he needs 24 to break Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. We've got a lot more to do, including we've got picks to make. We've got more playoff scenarios that we need to set you up with as we head into Week 18, because it's not just the number 1 overall seed in the NFC that's on the line with Minnesota and Detroit, Perloff. Way more than that. We get it all to you next.
Come on, man.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray and Perloff and the T on the Infinity Sports Network. Are also Sirius XM Channel 158. Free Odyssey app. Okay, let's set up some scenarios. As we mentioned, Perloff, Sunday night, that's the big kahuna. The Detroit Lions hosting the Minnesota Vikings, number 1 seed in the NFC is on the line. NFC North, obviously, also on the line. But that's not all. Other things to keep an eye on this Week 18 in terms of playoff scenarios. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they beat the New Orleans Saints, they win the division. They are in as the 4 seed. They can also get in with an Atlanta loss or tie against Carolina. Now, Atlanta could win the division if the Bucs lose to New Orleans and they beat Carolina. We have Washington. The Commanders right now are if they are toggling with Green Bay between the 6 seed and the 7 seed. So both teams need to win to get the 6 seed. Whoever loses would get the 7. Green Bay has the tiebreaker there. for both, right? If they both win and both lose, I think I'm right about that.
I thought Washington had the tiebreaker.
Did Washington? Can you double check me on that one? The AFC North, Ravens need to win or tie against Cleveland. They are a 20-point favorite. Or the Steelers have to lose or tie Cincinnati, and they will win the AFC North. Pittsburgh needs to win, and they need Baltimore to lose to win the AFC North. Now, again, the Ravens are a 20-point favorite in an NFL game. That is just crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen a point spread that high.
Yeah, it's really high, and it's zappy, right, for our Browns.
By the way, is Washington, by the way, has tiebreaker in the 6th seed for the Green Bay.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yep.
So, yeah,
but
I mean,
still a lot to play for Washington and Green Bay.
I think all the critics who say the NFL season is already too long and they want to add more games, like this week is probably going to play out that way. Let's face it, it really is. It's not a great lineup because I don't think. Do you expect any of this chaos to happen? Like, what scenario were you looking at as like maybe the most realistic?
Okay, I'll tell you because right now the final wild card spot in the AFC is up for grabs because the Broncos, if they win, they're in. They have to beat the Chiefs, though, and I know they're home and they're a 10.5-point favorite. It still is Andy Reid and the Chiefs. So
yeah, no, I know what you mean, and I hope so, but it still feels like a long shot, right?
But so it's the Broncos, it's the Miami Dolphins, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals all vying for that last wild card spot. Again, easiest scenario: Broncos win and they're in. A Denver loss and a Miami win means Miami's in. Cincinnati can only get in if they beat Pittsburgh on Saturday, the Broncos lose, and the Dolphins lose or tie. If Cincinnati, Denver, and Miami all lose, all three lose, Denver gets in. So obviously the Broncos have a couple ways that they can clinch, but the easiest one is just win and get in.
Yeah, it's funny. If they do make it in, it kind of feels like a soft landing in the playoffs for Sean Payton's Broncos. I don't think anybody's afraid of them in the playoffs. It feels like they kind of schedule their way to a winning record. But that being said, like the future's totally bright with Denver. I love what they're doing. This year, I expect them to win this game, but I don't really expect anything out of them in the playoffs. And I think that's fair to say. I don't even think Denver fans would be mad at me saying that.
This was an unbelievable coaching job by Sean Payton.
Really,
this
though,
year.
but
Yes.
they beat a bunch of terrible teams. Really,
But he had a rookie quarterback all year, and you can say he beat a bunch of terrible teams. He still has to play in the AFC West. He still had to deal with Jim Harbaugh this year. He still has to deal with Andy Reid.
I mean, I guess so, but I just think
They
that
haven't made the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl in 2015. This is a huge deal for Denver if they get in.
really they're going to be 10-7, and they'll be massive underdogs in the first game. Is it really a huge deal?
Yes, I think anytime you break a long playoff drought, I think is a huge deal. And how could you not feel really good about the future for Denver when Bo Nix looks like he's the guy? So
Let me read their wins. At Tampa Bay in week 3, that was a strange game. Tampa Bay was dealing with some issues that they did kill them. Then they beat the Jets. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Saints. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Raiders, the Browns, the Colts. Like, they're not good against good teams.
yeah, but no one is calling them a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
Like you got to understand, meet them where they are. This
Well,
is a big deal for a team that was picked to win 4.5 games. The win total was 4.5 or 5.
It
This
doesn't
is
feel
huge.
doesn't feel like a huge deal to me. Like I think they're going to lose that first round, and then this is whether they make it or not has no bearing on the future of like what they're building there. It's something really good. I like what Sean Payton has with Bo Nix, but whether they do a San Diego, this is like the Chargers. They always sneak in at 10-7. Brandon Staley didn't really mean much.
They did it once.
Yeah, but whatever. Like this is like there's always an AFC West team who's like 9-8 and 10-7. It doesn't blow me away. I've not been wildly impressed by them the second half of the season. They're okay, right? I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know. They come out 10-7. It's like, is anyone picking them to win the AFC West next year? No.
No, but I think you get some playoff experience for Bo Nix in his rookie season. I think that's not nothing.
I think it's close to nothing. It doesn't do anything for me. Again, look at these wins. Like the schedule just happened to fall right. They're like the Indiana Hoosiers of the NFL.
Okay, so I think I got all the scenarios there, basically.
Carson Wentz playing for a job will be. I think that is the one to watch. Right, like that's the game of the weekend. Not Detroit, Minnesota. Seeing my guy Carson Wentz go up and try and Zach Ertz killed the Falcons last week. Now it's Carson Wentz, former Eagle, his turn to cause some playoff havoc.
We'll see. 855-212-4227 if you want to weigh in. You got a thought on these games? Let's get to some picks.
Maggie and Perloff's NFL picks.
All right, EJ, what are our records, sir?
Okay, so this is like a little quick 2-week recap. So week 16, Maggie, you went 2-3. Perloff, you went 4-1. Then in week 17, Maggie, you went 3-2. Perloff, you flipped it and went 1-4.
Oof.
So now, Maggie, your overall record is 47-38. Perloff, you're back under 500, 42-43.
Got some work to do. Some bad beats last week. Thank you, Syracuse. God.
That's your fault.
I mean, they had that game. Oh, my. It was basically like, all right, well, it's a backup quarterback. My whole backup defense scored with 6 seconds left to win by 17 points instead of 17.5. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to do any college this week. We'll hit the college games next week. So let's go to some NFL. For me, I've got 2 games against the spread that I'd like to get to. Number 1 is Green Bay. I'm going to lay the 10 points at home against the Bears. Obviously, that's a huge number against a division rival. But in Lambeau, I think the Bears, just end the season. They need a new head coach. I think it's been a long year. I don't think they want any part of this. And meanwhile, Green Bay, they are playing the starters. They do feel like they have a lot to play for. And I think that Green Bay would very much want to avoid having to play Perloff's Eagles in the first round as opposed to maybe going to L.A. to play the Rams. I think they're going to play hard. Green Bay, I'll lay the 10. My other against the spread, tip of the cap to Nick Kostos, who also had this. San Francisco plus the... actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do Tampa Bay, and I'm going to lay the 14. Tampa Bay is on the road. They're playing New Orleans. Tampa Bay has everything to play for. They need this win to win the division. Atlanta also has an outside shot of winning the division. So Tampa's got to go full throttle here. I think the Saints, listen, they need a huge overhaul, maybe even GM and coach. So 2 big spreads, but I feel comfortable with Green Bay laying 10 and Tampa Bay laying 14.
Okay, yeah, that Green Bay one, I love that pick because if... the Bears coaching staff in that last game against Seattle, like you don't recover from that.
Oh, they're so bad.
You don't recover from that. Okay.
They lost 6-3.
I kind of like the having games with meaning seems like your trend here. I like the Bengals are still playing for something on the road at Pittsburgh. And Bengals have been really good covering the spread on the road. They're laying 2 points. I'm going to take Cincinnati. Now, I'm making the classic mistake. The Cowboys burned me last week, so I'm betting against them this week. Give me the Commanders. Let's see. I think it's 6. Yes. Washington -6. I'm going to take that Browns-Ravens game over 41. If it's a 20-point spread, I just need something from Zappy. I need just a little something from my guy, Zappy. And then... So how are the rules? I guess I have to do 2 totals here.
Yep.
Okay. It's just because it's so darn low. Let's bet on those Tennessee Titans over 37. Texans. Texans have not really scored any points in recent weeks. No offensive points. Anyway, so I'm going to go over 37. Texans Titans. My prop I will do. The only guy that's been working for me on props, JSN, step on up. So I have a choice. I can either go 5.5 receptions or 65.5 yards. He needs 5 receptions to break some record for Seattle receivers, 101 catches. That's why I'm going for receiving yards because they pull him after that catch. 66.5 receiving yards over for Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Okay. I like it.
And also Geno has all these incentives too. I'm going into that Geno Smith incentive.
Yeah, Geno Smith has $6 million worth of incentives on the line in this game. He gets $2 million if they get to 10 wins. He gets $2 million if he hits a certain percentage, a passing percentage for the season, and he gets $2 million if he hits 185 passing yards for his total passing yards for the season. So,
wow!
Lots to play for. Thank you, Zach. For my over-unders, give me the Chiefs and the Broncos. I'm going to go over 40 in this game. Broncos need this game to get into the playoffs. Carson Wentz is starting for the Chiefs. It's still Andy Reid. I don't think that they're going to score no points in this game. So over 40, I will take that. Also in this game, I know they're begging you to do it, and I'm going to take the cheese, and I feel like it's a trap. But I'm walking into the trap of taking the Vikings and the Lions over 55.5. I get that it's a big number. But the Lions have to score on every possession. They know this. They're more likely to score 50 points in a game than they are 20 points in a game, in my opinion. 55.5, I'll take the over. And as for my player prop, TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. Also in that game, listen, try as you might, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison are just going to get so much attention. I think Hawkinson will be available over the middle.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be so much passing in that game. It's going to be so much fun. Hawkins is awesome. I was looking. I kind of like Detroit to cover in that game. It's 2.5.
Playing the 2.5?
Yeah.
You didn't pick it.
I know. I was actually leaning between that and Washington. I want to actually I just want to sit back as a fan and enjoy Minnesota-Detroit because this is really 55.5. This is my favorite kind of game. I mean, just a shootout. I think Jahmyr Gibbs might probably still, I know he's not an Eagle. He's my favorite player in the NFL. He's just so electric. I've been saying that. I said that last year. He's just so amazing. I hope they don't wear him down in this game too much because he's got to be on a run for playoffs. This is great. Also, quick question. Do you think this is, in essence, for the Super Bowl, this game? Like the winner, Detroit, Minnesota gets a number 1 seed. They get the bye, and they get home field. Do you think whoever comes out of this is like the prohibitive favorite in the NFC? Because they will be home.
Yeah.
And Minnesota is a very, very good team at home.
I guess my question is, do I think that either of these teams could go to Philadelphia and win?
Well, that's the thing. Like, whoever wins is not going to have to go
No,
to
I know, but
Philadelphia.
whoever loses, do I think that
are
they
they
could,
out? Yeah.
Yeah, like could Minnesota, if they lose this game, go to Philadelphia and win? I don't think so.
I think both teams. I think the loser's out, and I think the winner is the favorite.
Can I ask you a question? What's going on with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, who knows? Concussions, tricky.
But he's coming back, right?
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. No one's, as far as I know, no one's talking like he's not going to be available for the playoffs.
Okay. They're just giving him as much rest as possible. What do you think? Is this for the Super Bowl? Did you say yes?
No, I think I don't think Minnesota, if they win, they're making the Super Bowl. But I think if Detroit wins, then it's probably, I would put a future bet on them. I think like Detroit will be in a great position if it comes through Detroit, if they're indoors. Yeah, this is going to be a really great game. Yeah, you got a lot of interest in here.
I do. And I do feel like it's a trap taking the 55.5, but I'm doing it. Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Manny Rodriguez. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch and Andrew Kaplan, the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers, Paul Allen, who joined us, the voice of the Vikings, Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet. Have a great weekend, everyone. We're back on Monday.
You're in a 5-minute break.